It is a partly cloudy and cool afternoon today in the White Mountains of New Hampshire at Memorial Field in Hanover. Temperature in the mid-40s for today's game between the Big Green of Dartmouth College and the Bulldogs of Yale University. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Ivy League football game of the week. I'm Sean McDonough, along with Mike Madden and Jack Corrigan. It's nice to have you with us today for Yale and Dartmouth. Yale comes in with a record of 4-2. They are 2-1 in the Ivy League. Dartmouth at 1-5 overall, winless in the Ivy League. And as such, Jack Corrigan, the Big Green of Dartmouth, really with nothing to lose today on Halloween, and Coach Buddy Stevens told us he may have a few tricks up his sleeve today.
I think Buddy is going to use a little bit of gimmickry in this ball game. One of the problems for Dartmouth this year has been their inability to consistently get the ball to their all-Ivy wide receiver, Craig Morton. I think we will see a few trick plays designed to make sure that Morton is a big part of their offense here this afternoon. Defensively, the Big Green has had problems stopping people this year. They're probably going to blitz a little bit more, try and give the Yale offense some different looks to confuse Kelly Ryan, if that's possible. And ultimately, I think they're going to try and get their offense to control the ball, because the best way to stop Kelly Ryan is keep him on the sidelines.
This win here at Memorial Field might help stop Kelly Ryan and the Yale offense today as they take on an inexperienced Dartmouth defense. Mike Madden, the Yale Bulldogs, they come in 2-1 in the Ivy League, as I mentioned, very much in the thick of the race, not getting very much respect around the league, and they deserve it. This is a big game for them today.
Oh, yeah, they're a very good team, and unlike Dartmouth, they're not going to have to gamble. They've got Kelly Ryan. He's Yale's all-time leading passer. They've got Mike Stewart, a very dynamic tailback. Troy Jenkins leading the way in front of them. These guys are a good, solid team. They run the ball off tackle. They set up the pass very well. I think if they just stick with their game plan, they don't have to go out on a limb like Dartmouth is. They're a more solid team, and I think if they just play a solid game, they should have no problem winning today.
Yale has won 3 in a row. Dartmouth has lost 3 straight, and we'll be back at Memorial Field in just a moment. The Ivy League football game of the week is made possible by a grant from the financial professionals at Payne Weber. And by a grant from Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. The Ivy League standings entering today's play. Harvard and Brown and Cornell all at 3-1. Yale, as we mentioned, still very much in the thick of the race at 2-1. Princeton and Penn going head-to-head today, and that might be the loser's bracket game, Jack, because the team that loses that game has their title hopes extinguished.
Basically so. Harvard and Brown, the other real big game besides this one that we want to watch this afternoon as the two of the 3 front runners. This is a big ball game for Yale because they have got games upcoming with Cornell and, of course, with Harvard. They cannot look beyond the Dartmouth Big Green here this afternoon and stumble along the way. For Dartmouth, obviously, a victory here goes a long way towards erasing what has been a disappointing first year for Buddy Stevens and his staff.
It has been an amazing season already for the Yale Bulldogs, and still 4 very big ball games left for Yale. Yale has won 3 games this season in the last minute of play, none more dramatic than last weekend's game against Pennsylvania at the Yale Bowl. Jack Penn driving down the field, running out the clock with a 1-point lead over Yale. 30 seconds to go. They're in Yale territory, 3rd down, and Yale quarterback John Keller just fumbled the snap from center. It was recovered by Mike Brown of Yale. Kelly Ryan in 3 passes took Yale the 58 yards down the field. They won the game on a 32-yard touchdown pass. Kelly Ryan to Bob Shoup with 6 seconds left. And that's how you stay in the title race, winning games like that.
And what you do when you win football games like that is you create an aura around your club that you are not going to lose. That somehow or another you're going to figure out a way to win a football game. They've done that. They hope to continue that the rest of the way.
Carm Koza, the Dean of Ivy League coaches, in his 23rd year as the head coach at Yale University, his 25th year overall in New Haven. He spent 2 seasons as an assistant coach before becoming the head coach, and he is the 14th winningest active coach in all of college football. Buddy Stevens is in his 1st year as head coach at his alma mater. He is a 1979 graduate of Dartmouth and a fine coach. 2 years as head coach at the University of Maine prior to coming back to Dartmouth. Turned the Maine Black Bear program around. They had not had back-to-back winning seasons in 21 years, and in the 2 years under Coach Stevens, the Black Bears of Maine went 6-5 in 1985 and 7-4 last year. Dartmouth, dressed in green, will kick off before the homecoming crowd here at Memorial Field. Number 2, Jim Morris will kick off. He's a sophomore from San Bernardino, California. Gibbon Bryce, number 26, and Reggie Sellers, number 25, are back deep to receive for Yale. The breeze has died down. Not much wind at the back of Morris as he kicks off. Taken by Bryce at the 5-yard line. He heads toward the sideline and goes out of bounds near the 30. That's where the Yale offense begins, 1st and 10.
The Yale offense headed up by the ECAC co-offensive player of the week and the Ivy League player of the week, Kelly Ryan. Kelly has had just a sensational senior season thanks to some good health. He's got a great blocking and running fullback in Jenkins. Mike Stewart's had a big year. Good offensive line. Not one guy in particular that stands out, but overall they've done an effective job because Yale has been extremely balanced running and passing the ball throughout the season.
Penalty flag down on the play.
Offside, kicking team, 5-yard penalty, re-kick.
Flag came out of nowhere. Both the Yale offense and the Dartmouth defense on the field and ready to go at the 30, but Dartmouth was offside. Yale says kick it again, and we'll look at the Dartmouth defense.
This is the group that has a big job this afternoon, the Dartmouth defense, particularly the down linemen and the linebackers, because if Yale is able to run the ball effectively, Kelly Ryan's passing becomes just that much more of a problem. They've got a adequate secondary, but they have given up a lot of yardage. They've made interceptions, but they've also given up a lot of yardage.
So Jim Morris will try again, this time kicking from the 30. Bryce and Sellers have moved up to the 10-yard line as they wait to receive. No flags down on this kickoff, and Bryce has it at the 11. He'll try the right sideline again. And Yale gained just about 5 yards after the penalty as they'll begin this time at the 35-yard line, led by the Ivy League Player of the Week, Kelly Ryan, the senior quarterback from Springfield, Illinois. Last week against Penn, he was 20 for 31, 216 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he earned Ivy League Player and ECAC co-offensive Player of the Week honors.
His last-second victories, too. Kelly becoming the next in the line of the Frank Merriwells and Brian Dowlings for creating magic at that quarterback position for the Bulldogs.
Again, the officials are going to talk it over before we have the first snap from center. Charlie Clough from Richmond, Virginia is our referee today.
The huddle clock was not in operation. That's what the problem was. Now it's ticking away, so we'll be ready to go. Let's see how many different things Dartmouth will try defensively here in the early going to confuse Yale if they can.
1st and 10 Yale. From the 35-yard line. Handoff goes to the fullback, Troy Jenkins. He's into the line for about 2 yards. Jenkins, a senior from Canton, Ohio, an economics major at Yale.
Brent Fry, the defensive end, made the stop. Dartmouth will give you a couple of different fronts. They have 3 down linemen, Fry, McLaughlin, and McDowell, and then they will take the linebackers and sometimes put them on the line of scrimmage, sometimes drop them off into coverage.
You talk about the front 3 of Fry, McLaughlin, and McDowell. Bruce Wood, the assistant sports information director here at Dartmouth, calls them 2 Big Macs and a large fry. Mike Stewart on the carry. The junior tailback from Manchester, New Hampshire, was taken down after a gain of 2 out to the 39-yard line. Yale faced now with 3rd down and 6. I like that. 2 Big Macs and a large fry. McLaughlin, McDowell, and Fry.
And at 230, 255, and 245, they've got pretty good size on that defensive front. Here's what Dartmouth has to control this afternoon, the 3rd and long situations. They've got to not enable Yale to sustain drives against them.
3rd and 6. Ryan to attempt his first pass, looking over the middle, and it's thrown behind Troy Jenkins. Paul Michael, number 39, the starting inside linebacker, was on the coverage for Dartmouth, and Yale will be forced to go 3 downs and punt.
Yale many times in 3rd down situations goes to this guy, their outstanding tight end Dean Athanasia, but they had good coverage underneath with Sorensen and deep with Brent Matthews. Tried to go to his release man Jenkins, and he was also well covered. Good job early on by the Big Green defense.
Todd Cowan on the punt. He's a sophomore from Heartland, Michigan. Has not had an impressive season, as you see by those numbers. Just a 29-yard average per kick. That's a short kick, and a fair catch made by Rob Comby at the 39-yard line. They'll mark it back at the 38. Good field position for Dartmouth as they come on offense, led by junior quarterback Chris Rourke.
They are without their starting tailback Sean Page, who hurt his knee last week against Cornell, so Chris Pollard now has that job. Dave Gazagana, the center, is the best of that offensive front line.
And Gazzaniga is the only junior. The rest are seniors. On the front 5 for the Big Green on 1st and 10 from their own 38. The wind at the back of Dartmouth here in the first quarter. The pitch goes to Chris Pollard. He has a sizable gain on first down of about 8 yards out to the 46-yard line.
Good hole on the left side, opened up by Lee Overstreet and Brian Jansen. It was Overstreet just with a down block closing off the hole, and then Jansen pulling and clearing the outside, and Mr. Pollard, who showed some good strong run against Cornell, good yardage.
Call it a gain of 7 as you look at the Yale defense. The rest of that unit in just a moment. 2nd down and 3. This time it's Terry Phillips, the fullback, and he has a first down as he crosses midfield and goes down at the Yale 49.
Here's the Yale secondary, headed up by the monster man Steve Essick. Dave Sullivan, the free safety, also a pretty good football player. Yale is giving up about 360 yards a game defensively, so it's not been like they've been an overpowering defense. Dartmouth is going to hope to take advantage of that if they can.
1st and 10, Dartmouth. At the Yale 49. Dave Anderson out to the left, Craig Morton to the right. York to throw his first pass. Dumps it off, complete to Terry Phillips. He's near first down yardage at the 39-yard line. Number 45, Richard Huff, came up to make the tackle, the sophomore from Vincennes, Indiana.
Excellent pass protection by the Big Green offensive line for Chris Rourke. You see his numbers there.
They spot the ball just short of a first down after this completion. Rourke to Phillips. 9th catch of the year for Terry Phillips. 2nd down at inches, just inside the 40. Anderson in motion. Pollard, another big goal. He has the first down and much more down at the 32-yard line. Chris Pollard, the junior from Greenfield, Massachusetts, a history major at Dartmouth.
The biggest factor in Dartmouth being 1-5 this year has been turnovers. They have had just all kinds of problems hanging onto the football and throwing interceptions. When they don't make mistakes, they move the ball.
Pollard rushed for 60 yards last week at Cornell. He has 15 yards already on 2 carries. Pollard gets the call again. Another big hole into the secondary and down at the 18-yard line. Chris Pollard getting excellent blocking in front of him. He's down at the 18 and Dartmouth knocking on the door.
Again, just down blocking. It's zone blocking, man on man, and only Don Lund's tackle there perhaps stopped the Dartmouth touchdown. That time it was Rick Hill and Lance Hyde doing the job on the right side for Dartmouth.
14-yard gain, 3 carries and 29 yards for Pollard on this opening drive for Dartmouth. I formation behind Rourke. He'll stick with Pollard. He crosses the 15 and goes down at the 14 after a gain of 4. 2nd and 6 upcoming for the Big Green.
Dartmouth is going to want to do this all afternoon if they can. They know that it is not an overwhelmingly strong Yale defense. Yale's strength is on offense. But you can't do much with your offense when they're standing and watching on the sidelines.
Second down 6 from the 14. Chris Keck, the tight end, started to move, then resets at the left side of the line. Pitch to Pollard. This time he was hit in the backfield and stopped for no gain. Number 51, Tony Capolino, broke through the line and made the original play. He's a senior defensive end from New Hyde Park, New York.
Capolino was the best of the defensive down linemen for the Yale Bulldogs. You see some of the Yale coaching staff concerned about what's happening here in this initial drive by Dartmouth.
3rd down and 6 from the 14. No score, 5 minutes played first quarter. Rourke, complete. David Anderson on the catch, number 26, the junior from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He appears to have the first down near the 7-yard line. Needed to get to the 8, and he appears to be at least a half yard beyond that, but Charlie Clough will call for the measurement.
Again, excellent pass protection that time as Rourke is able to find Dave Anderson. The key to the play was Terry Phillips, the fullback, picked up the blitzing free safety, Dave Sullivan. That gave Rourke enough time to complete the pass and get the first down.
With room to spare. First and goal, Dartmouth at the Yale 7. And the big homecoming crowd here at Memorial Field enjoying what it has seen thus far. Phyllis and Pollard split behind Rourke. Now they shift into the I formation. Morton to the right, Anderson to the left. Pollard across the 5 and thrown down at about the 3-yard line.
I got to tell you, Rick Hill, the left guard, unloaded on John Reese, the linebacker. That created the hole for Pollard to get it down inside the 3.
A productive first 5 minutes for Chris Pollard. Don Lund made the tackle on that play for Yale. As we look at Rick Hill, the senior from Wilbraham, Massachusetts, and the starting right guard for Dartmouth. Second and goal from the 3. Full house backfield. David Clark, number 33 in the backfield now for Dartmouth. Pollard trying to cross the goal line. The Dartmouth players think he's in. The officials have made no signal, and they'll spot him down just short of the goal line. Dartmouth will be faced with third and goal from inside the 1.
Well, we speculated at the start of this ball game that Yale may be a little bit flat, thinking about the bigger games down the road. I think they realize right now they got a big one to worry about this afternoon.
Third and goal. Phyllis, touchdown.
An impressive 62-yard drive by the Big Green offense of Dartmouth College. Terry Phyllis, the senior from the Cleveland, Ohio area, Parma Heights, Ohio, the English major, up and over for his 3rd touchdown of the season. And the early advantage belongs to Dartmouth.
Carl Romero on to attempt the extra point. He has missed one this year. That kick is good. Romero, a junior from Englishtown, New Jersey, adding the extra point. And with 8:24 to play in the first quarter, it's Dartmouth 7 and Yale nothing.
Here on homecoming in Hanover, we're going to take a look at some of the alumni from Dartmouth College as you look at scenes of the campus here in Hanover, New Hampshire. As we have done each week here on our Ivy League Game of the Week telecasts, we spotlight illustrious graduates of the respective teams playing, and much like the other schools, lots of familiar names. Let's go down to the sidelines and Mike Madden.
I don't think Coach Buddy Tevens, if somebody had said, Coach, draw out a script for what how you want this game to open up, I don't think he could have drawn it up any better. They're a 1-5 team. Yale has only 1 loss. I think, if he says, 3 plays punt, we got him out of there and then drive it down and score, I don't think he could have drawn it up any better. That's big for this Dartmouth team, and that's got to be a boost of confidence. Their defense has been on the field. They've had 3 plays. They punt. Both offense and defense has had some success. Let's see if it can carry on in the rest of the first quarter here.
Jim Morris to kick it off. Sellers and Bryce once again back deep. That comes down to Bryce. Nearly lost his footing inside the 10. He's out to the 20, still on his feet and down to the 22.
Confidence is such a key ingredient in sports, and right now the confidence level of Dartmouth has been boosted by the 62-yard drive. They ran it in 11 plays, that drive, and consumed a little more than 5 minutes of the clock. As Mike Madden said, just exactly what Buddy Tevens wants to accomplish this afternoon.
Yale with 3 downs and punt on its first possession. Bulldogs begin at their 22. Mike Stewart, Yale's leading rusher, across the 25 and down to the 26-yard line. Cliff Curry and Jay Sweat made the tackle as we look at the Dartmouth scoring drive, capped by the 1-yard touchdown run by Terry Phyllis.
If you are a real aficionado of the way football should be played, spend some time this afternoon watching number 22, Troy Jenkins, the Yale fullback, block. That young man blocks as well as anybody I've ever seen coming out of the backfield.
On second down, Jenkins trying to get outside, and he won't get there. Paul Michael, the junior inside linebacker from Tampa, Florida, number 39, made a big hit on Jenkins. He couldn't get outside there, and he lost 3 yards back to the 23.
We're isolated here on Troy Jenkins. There's that sweep draw that Yale likes to run. Great recognition of the play by Paul Michael. And is that young man excited? I would say so.
Among his hobbies, Paul Michael lists that he enjoys dancing, and he did a little dance in celebratory fashion after taking down Jenkins behind the line of scrimmage. Third down, nearly 10 yards to go for a Yale first down. Ryan deep over the middle and complete at the 42-yard line to Bob Shoup, the senior from Oakmont, Pennsylvania. First down, Yale at the 42.
Bob Shoup, who was one of the heroes last week, is going to run a deep turn-in route right in the middle of the zone. Mike Campanelli comes up a little bit late, and Shoup with another big catch for the Bulldogs. They needed that.
15th catch of the season for Bob Shoup on first down. The delay goes to Mike Stewart. He's into the secondary, into Dartmouth territory, and down at the 45-yard line. Another first down for the Bulldogs. Saving tackle made in the secondary by Brett Matthews, the senior strong safety from Wilmot Platte, New Hampshire.
Mike Stewart, who played his high school football here in New Hampshire, showing why he is on target for a 1,000-yard season with the Bulldogs. Nice run.
Stewart came into the game with 638 yards rushing in 6 games. That indeed is a 1,000-yard pace for the season. On first down, Ryan wide open is Shoup at the 25. He's dropped right there by Cliff Curry. Not before picking up another Yale first down at the Dartmouth 25.
One of the real problems for the Dartmouth defense this season has been a secondary that is a little bit hesitant. Even though they've got some guys back there with experience, they tend not to be as confident about their coverage. They tend to just play an area, let the ball get to the receiver, and then try and make the play.
Dartmouth leads 7-0. Just less than 6 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Yale on the move, the delay to Stewart. He goes down at the 18-yard line after a gain of 7. Paul Sorensen, number 54, in on the tackle, along with number 91, Matt Walco.
You can bet when that Yale offense was standing on the sidelines during that Dartmouth touchdown drive after just having a 3-and-out situation, they said to themselves, hey, we got to get it in gear here, fellas.
They've done that, but they've done it very quickly. On 2nd and 3, Jenkins has the first down as he crosses the 50 and goes down at the 13-yard line.
Let's watch the good, effective work by the guys up front for Yale. This is Dean Athanasiou. Not only does the young man catch the football well as a tight end, we used to call that a cockroach anytime you put the guy on his back with his legs up in the air. And Matt Walco was the guy who got popped pretty good by Dean Athanasiou.
1st and 10 Yale at the Dartmouth 13. The Bulldogs on the move with 4:45 to play in the first quarter, and Dartmouth leading 7-0. Jenkins pulls his way inside the 10. He's finally stopped at the 8-yard line after a gain of 5. Brett Matthews up to make the tackle.
Well, we have had another postcard-like day here in New Hampshire. It's the kind of scenes you expect to see for a homecoming weekend, particularly here in New England.
Wouldn't mind if they lit up that bonfire again. Little chilly here in the bright sunshine. Mike Stewart trying to get outside right, and he can't. Stopped at about the line of scrimmage by Paul Michael, the economics major, inside linebacker, who's been a force on the first 2 defensive series for Dartmouth.
Carmcosa faced with an interesting 3rd down call here. He's not had an overly effective field goal outfit this year. He'd like to get 7 if he could.
He's faced with 3rd and 5 from the 8-yard line. Ryan looking to pass toward the end zone, and it is caught for a touchdown. Dean Athanasia, the tight end, made the catch. And from 8 yards out, it's Ryan to Athanasia. Yale within 1 with the extra point upcoming.
Well, any doubts about the strength of the Kelly Ryan throwing arm get answered right here. He throws this into all kinds of coverage, but he got it to the guy he wanted to get it to. And Athanasia with another touchdown. He's now got 12 in his Yale career and 5 this season.
Andrew Walton on for the extra point. It's good, and we're tied at 7 with 3:20 to play in the first quarter. A 78-yard drive by the Yale Bulldogs, culminating in an 8-yard touchdown pass. Kelly Ryan to Dean Athanasia, as Jack told you, his 5th touchdown reception of the year.
Now we get a chance to take a look at some of the Yale graduates. And here was a scene yesterday afternoon as they were getting ready for the big bonfire last night on the green here on the Dartmouth College campus. It's quite a celebration. And they tell us that it's all cleared out by about 8:30, 9 o'clock the following morning, or this morning. Wouldn't even know they had the big bonfire, other than the steam still rising up from the ground.
Dean Athanasia, Yale's all-time leading pass receiver, now with 93 receptions after the touchdown grab. He broke the record for Yale's all-time leading reception mark back in the Columbia game a couple of weeks ago, passing Kurt Grieve and John Spagnola, both of whom had 88 catches in their Yale careers. Jonathan Gastel kicks off. Very short kick taken by Nick Stanham, number 15 at the 21. He's out to the 34 before being taken down. Dartmouth back on offense for the second time. Looked very impressive. Their first time on offense, going 62 yards in 11 plays, chewing up 5 minutes of the clock, and scoring a touchdown on a 1-yard run by Terry Phillips. There's the Yale scoring drive. Chris Rourke at quarterback, junior government major from North Andover, Massachusetts. Short drop, in trouble, and dropped. Back at the 28-yard line, Tony Capolino once again got through to make the big play. That is his 7th sack. He also has a half sack on the year. 7.5 sacks to lead the Yale team for Tony Capolino.
They were trying to run a quick hits pattern to Craig Morton to get him the football. Yale was stunning into that movement. Not only could he not get the ball off, Rourke, he also got dumped.
Loss of 6, 2nd and 16. Over the middle and complete to Chris Keck, the tight end, number 82. He's down at the 37-yard line after a gain of 9.
37. This is the guy that came up and
Yale offensive coaches discussing strategy on the far side.
This guy came inside, so I got the linebacker. Yeah, you got to take the linebacker. So this is the guy that gave us the problem. We blocked him, we're running with the football. You understand? Well, we had a double team.
3rd down and 8 for Dartmouth at the Big Green 36. 4 wideouts in the formation for the Big Green. He's under trouble again. Rourke got away from it. In trouble again. Now he looks to run upfield. And he's near a first down as he goes down to the 44-yard line. It will depend upon where they spot the football. Believe he came up just a bit short.
We noticed this yesterday as we were watching some videotape of last week's ball game against Cornell. Chris Rourke is the Doug Flutys, the Fran Tarkingtons, whatever you want to call the scrambling, shifty quarterbacks. He made an awful lot out of what looked to be absolute disaster for the Big Green.
Charlie Clough is called for a measurement, and they are indeed just a bit short. The crowd wants Buddy Stevens to go for it, but he's not going to oblige the homecoming folks, and he sent the punting team out of the field. Too early in the football game to take a chance like that, Jack.
I think so, Sean. You have the wind at your back this quarter. You have a chance to pin Yale deep in their own territory. I think you got to punt the ball.
Yale has nobody back deep to receive the kick from Kevin Griffin. We talked about the tricks of Dartmouth. They've been known to fake punts. If Kevin Griffin can get this one off, he could get a sizable roll. It's a fine kick with the wind. Takes a big hop into the air, and it'll be down by the big green at about the 10-yard line.
Dave Clark, the guy who downed the ball at the 10, you might say, well, why didn't he let it bounce a little bit? Better to grab it and make sure you've got it than to have it slip away and go into the end zone.
7-7 our score. In the final moments of the first quarter, 1:25 to play in the opening period. Kelly Ryan at quarterback. He's not thrown an interception in his last 2 games. He's thrown just 1 interception in the last 5. Bryce was in trouble deep in the backfield, got back to the line of scrimmage, and perhaps ahead for 1 or 2 out to the 13-yard line.
Matt Kelly, the guy who had initial contact on the play, couldn't stay with him. Bryce was able to fall forward for a couple of yards. Again, Dartmouth faced with the situation of trying to not let Yale get the long sustained drive against them.
Second down and 8 for Yale. Flag down on the play as Jenkins gets the call. He's out to the 20 and a yard short of a first down, but let's check out the flag.
Jenkins on the carry. Flag on the play.
So against the Bulldogs, an illegal formation, I believe that signal is. Generally what happens is they probably didn't have 7 men on the line of scrimmage.
Dartmouth will take the penalty as Yale was just a half-yard short of a first down.
Shift, offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
Well, illegal shift is what they called. Can't really tell from that angle. Somebody did something wrong that was spotted and set the Bulldogs back inside their 10.
Still second down for Yale. Less than 30 seconds to play in the opening period now. Ryan throws, and it is broken up by Andy Russell, number 93. He nearly intercepted the pass intended for Tom Zuba, number 27.
Kelly Ryan showing you that he really wants to throw the ball even when he gets to the corner, because he had running room out to about the 15 and maybe to the 20, but wanted to go to Zuba out near the 30 and almost got into big trouble.
Andy Russell broke up the play, and if that name sounds familiar to football fans, it should. His dad was All-Pro for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, his dad was a great football player and a very smart football player.
Andy's a pretty smart football player himself with a 3.7 grade point average as a psychology major here at Dartmouth. Third down. They go to the delay to Bryce. He stopped well short of a first down at the 15-yard line. Yale faced with 4th down and 6 and will be forced to punt. They'll probably let the clock run out here.
No, Dartmouth has called a timeout. The clock is still running. They called timeout with about 10 seconds to go in the quarter. I thought Buddy Stevens would do that because it's a pretty good wind in Yale's face, and with Yale having problems with their punt team, you make them punt into this wind.
That's why I started to say I was pretty sure Yale would let the time run out in the quarter so they could kick with the wind, but Buddy Stevens, thinking one step ahead, uses one of his timeouts here in the first half to force Yale to punt into the wind. As we look at the rest of the schedule around the league today, the biggest game, Harvard at Brown, both of those two teams with 1 loss in the Ivy League. Princeton and Penn each with 2 losses, so the loser of that game is out of the race, and the winner has faint hopes at least, but with so many teams now with 1 loss, 2 losses might not be good enough for a share of the Ivy League title.
Todd Cowan in his last punt got off just a 23-yarder. If it's about that distance again, Dartmouth's going to get the ball inside the Yale 40. And as it is right now, the people they have sent deep on the play are standing in Yale territory. Craig Morton and Rob Comby. Comby is inside the Yale 40, and Morton, the deep guy, is only back to about the Yale 45, 46-yard line.
Bob Blackburn for his induction into the College Football Hall of Fame.
57-year-old Carm Koza, graduate of Miami of Ohio, just more than a 500 mark against Dartmouth. The last 5 games between these two schools in the last 5 years have been split right down the middle, with 2 wins for each school and 1 tie. Dartmouth blew out the Bulldogs last year in New Haven, 39-13. Wobbly kick by Cowan, taken by Morton at the 42. He's retreating, and he loses 5 yards on the return as he goes down at the 47. Time has expired here in the first quarter. Don't know if, well, now it is going to be the end of the first quarter. Thought perhaps they might put some time back on the clock because Dartmouth was calling timeout well before they actually stopped the clock. We know those young people. They're trying to hide. They don't. Glad to see that our producer Chris Carmody and our director Bob Lanning have absolutely no shame at all putting their own children on TV from Memorial Field. They picked a nice weekend to come along for the ride.
Michael Lanning and Clark and Robin and Jamie. The Carmody kids. We have 2 nominees for Fathers of the Year, Bob Lanning and Chris Carmody. 7-7 is our score at the end of 1 quarter here at Memorial Field in Hanover, New Hampshire. Dartmouth scoring on a 1-yard touchdown run by Terry Phillips after a 62-yard drive in 11 plays. Yale coming right back on a 78-yard drive in 10 plays, capped off by an 8-yard touchdown pass, Kelly Ryan, to Dean Athanasia. First and 10, Dartmouth. They begin this possession at the Yale 47, moving into the breeze in the second quarter. Their receivers will be looking back into the sun as well. High formation behind Rourke. David Anderson goes in motion. Pitch goes to Chris Pollard, trying to get outside to the right, and he does. Tackled by Steve Essick after a gain of about 6 yards down to the 41-yard line. Chris Pollard continues his effective running here in the first quarter. Terry Phillips, the Dartmouth fullback, maybe not quite the crunching block that Troy Jenkins necessarily throws out of the fullback spot, but he did the job on Essick to get him around the corner.
Pollard now with 45 yards rushing in the first half on 8 carries. Just underway second quarter, 7-7 the score. On second down, it's Pollard again, lost the football. And it's recovered by Yale, it would appear, and it is. At the 37-yard line, Tony Capolino came up with the football, his 3rd fumble recovery of the year. He has a nose for those loose balls.
Here has been one of the goblins that has haunted the Dartmouth Big Green all year long. Turnovers, particularly fumbles. That's the 11th fumble they have given up this year. They've got a plus-minus ratio in the turnover department of -8.
Looked like Pollard was juggling the football as he moved through the line. Lost it after the contact with John Reese, number 32. So Yale right back on offense. The wind at the backs of the Bulldogs as they begin from the 37. The delay to Mike Stewart. He's across the 40 and down near the 43-yard line. We mentioned earlier Mike Stewart on a pace to rush for 1,000 yards this season. Only 3 backs in Yale history have reached 1,000 yards in one season. Rich Diana did it twice. John Pagliaro did it twice, and Dick Geron reached the 1,000-yard mark once for Yale. That would be pretty impressive company for Mike Stewart. Gain of 5 at 2nd and 5. Rice, big hole. He has the first down as he makes his way out to midfield.
The Bulldogs love to run behind their big 285-pound junior right tackle, number 70, Art Coleman. To see a play coming in from the sidelines. Rich Schulte bringing in the play. Coleman, a pre-med major out of Spring Valley, New York, is 6'6.5", 285 pounds. Watch number 70 on the right side at right tackle. He's a good one.
One of the biggest linemen to ever play at Yale. Stewart didn't get anything that time, just back to the line of scrimmage. Stewart now with 7 carries for 31 yards. Jay Swedden on the tackle for Dartmouth, number 42, the junior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Second down and 10 for Yale, just inside Dartmouth territory. 12:45 to play till halftime, 7-7 the score. Ryan going to keep it this time. He's inside the 45 and taken out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Knocked out of bounds by Scott Sims, number 19. Kelly Ryan does not like to run very often, and with the history of knee trouble that he's had, that's probably a good idea.
Maybe that's the way the year's gone for Dartmouth, Sean. I know they had a blitz on that time, and the rollout was away from the blitz, all but negating what Dartmouth was hoping to accomplish. Had the rollout gone into the blitz, they would have had a big loss on the play. Perhaps that's the way the year's gone for the Big Green.
Third down for Yale at the Dartmouth 44. They have 4 yards to go for a first down. Ryan sets up the screen. It's complete to Kevin Price. He has the first down inside the 35 and tripped up by Andy Russell at the 32-yard line. Kevin Price was the leading rusher for Yale last year when he rushed for 529 yards. Hasn't been the center of attention this season because of the effective running by Mike Stewart, who took last year off. Well-conceived play and well executed by the Bulldogs. They have first and 10 at the 32. Rice, a junior from Chicago, Illinois. Pitch goes to Stewart. He's across the 30 and down at the 29-yard line. Paul Michael made the tackle.
Seb Laspina, the veteran offensive coordinator for Yale, still firmly believes in that I formation offense. He's had good variety in terms of his play calling here early on. Mixing it up well after the early troubles. He has kept the Dartmouth defense on its heels. That's what you want to do.
Second down, about 7 to go for a first down. Stewart up the middle and stopped short of the 25-yard line at the 26. Andy Russell at the bottom of the pile for Dartmouth.
Get a low-angle look here at the offensive front of the Yale Bulldogs. Came off the ball nicely there. It's a real key in football. Who gets the initial surge on the line of scrimmage? Who is controlling that no man's land, if you will? The line that does is usually the line that wins.
Big play here, third down and 4 from the 26-yard line. 7-7 our score, 10:52 to play, second quarter. Stewart hit shy of the first down, but appears to have it as he lunges forward. Needed to reach the 22. That's just about where they'll spot him now. Charlie Clough calling for a measurement.
You can just see, Sean, the Dartmouth defense hesitant. They're just not sure where they want to go, you know, what they want to try and do. And when you've got the balance that Yale has offensively, nearly 180 yards a game on the ground, a little over 200 yards a game through the air, as you see some other scores. Harvard out to the early lead in another Big Ivy game. When you're that balanced, you really put the pressure on the other team's defense.
The winner of that Harvard-Brown game will remain with 1 loss. Should Brown win that, you'd have to make them the favorite for the Ivy League title, at least a share of it, because they have Dartmouth and Columbia left on their schedule after today. That pass is complete. Tom Zubo with the reception, his first of the day. He's inside the 10, just inside the 10. Zubo, the leading receiver for the Yale Bulldogs. That's catch number 31 of the year.
Boston College with a little bit of an upset in the making at halftime. Another example there of what we were talking about, the soft secondary, Sean. You can tell there were 3 Dartmouth guys there, but they were covering air instead of going after the guy once they recognized the play.
First and goal from the 9. The delay again to Stewart. Stewart down inside the 5-yard line at the 4. I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen Yale go to more of those passes deeper down the field, because when they have, they've been open. A couple of passes to Shoup on the previous touchdown drive. Zuba wide open there, and all you have to do is watch Buddy Teevan's Dartmouth team on film to see that their secondary is not very strong, and passing is the strength of the Yale Bulldogs.
Yale's also running the ball pretty well, though, too, Sean. So they're doing what they want to do, control the game.
Second and goal from the 4. Stewart. Touchdown. Mike Stewart, virtually untouched from 4 yards out, gives Yale the lead for the first time this afternoon.
Kelly Ryan executes another masterful touchdown drive. Mike Stewart finishes it off. Stewart already with more than 50 yards rushing on the afternoon. 51 yards on 12 carries with his first touchdown of the day and his 4th on the ground this year amongst 6 scores.
Andrew Walton on for his 2nd extra point try of the day. And he's 2 for 2 as that one goes right down the middle. And with 9:19 to play in the second quarter, Yale leads Dartmouth by a score of 14-7.
Take a look at some more of the fine graduates of Dartmouth College and Yale University. Red Rolfe, he was a great one. Class of 31, he'll appear in Hanover.
We should point out that Dartmouth has an outstanding baseball team currently under their fine coach Mike Walsh, who led the Big Green to the Ivy League baseball title last year, and Mike Remlinger, their all-Ivy pitcher, is in the San Francisco Giants organization now and is expected to be in the major leagues very quickly.
The future Big Green quarterback, perhaps. Ball looks as big as he is.
They've had some pretty good quarterbacks here over the years at Dartmouth. Dartmouth has won more Ivy League championships than any other school in football. Their last came in 1978, led by an outstanding quarterback by the name of Buddy Teevans.
I was going to say at halftime they're going to honor the guy who was responsible for many of those Ivy titles. Great coach Bob Blackman.
A real hodgepodge in the kicking game for Yale, as that's been one area they've been deficient in all year. Handling the kickoffs this afternoon, Jonathan Gastel, number 19. Dave Derby had been their place kicker. We've not seen him this afternoon, as Walton has attempted the extra points.
And in the 2 touchdown drives for Yale, they've run off 10 minutes of clock.
Kicking with the wind. Gastel steps into it. Kick taken by Nick Stanham at the 4-yard line. He goes up the middle. Pulls his way out to the 26. That's where Dartmouth sets up shop. 1st and 10 Big Green at the Dartmouth 26.
Next week, we'll be down at the Bowl in New Haven. Watch these Yale Bulldogs battle another Ivy contender, the Big Red of Cornell. 1 o'clock next Saturday, our Ivy League game of the week. Cornell is not playing a league game this afternoon, hosting Bucknell.
Twin receivers out to the right. High formation behind Rourke on 1st and 10. Pitch goes to Pollard. Puts his head down and crashes out near the 35-yard line for another good gain on 1st down for Pollard. Gain of 8 yards.
Well, the difference in the game right now, the turnover, because Dartmouth was moving the ball, getting out into Yale territory. They cough it up, and the Bulldogs turn it into a score. They still have not been able to get the ball to Craig Morton, as we are about halfway into the second quarter.
Pollard now with 57 yards rushing on 10 carries. 2nd and 2. Terry Phillips, the fullback, has the 1st down and more. He crosses the 40 and goes down at the 41. John Reese, number 32, made the tackle. He is the Ivy League Sophomore of the Week for his defensive performance last week against Penn, when he made 17 tackles, 7 of them solo tackles.
Defensive coaches trying to figure out what they're doing because it's not going well at the moment. Class of 32 right there, I think.
David Anderson went in motion. The pitch to Pollard. Took a heavy hit at the 44 by Dave Sullivan. Bounced off that and got ahead to the 45-yard line.
Want to see some good contact here? Watch Dave Sullivan come up as he and Pollard have a meeting of the minds, literally, at the 45-yard line. Second and a little more than 5.
Again, 2 receivers to the right and the I formation behind Rourke. Pollard close to a first down. He moves his way out to midfield. Looks to be just a little bit shy of the first down. He'll be well shy where they place it back by about a yard. Big Green still in Dartmouth territory at the 49-yard line.
Bring in Matt Drury, the second tight end in the short yardage situation. Morton will leave the field. Now it'd be interesting to see what would happen if they don't get the first down here, Sean, that they might think about going for it on 4th down.
Pollard hit at the 50, didn't get the first down. He was stopped about a half yard short.
Steve Essick, the monster back, coming up quickly to fill the hole. When Pollard got this handoff, it looked like he had room to the outside to pick up the first down. But first John Reese, and then Sullivan and Essick came along to finish him off, and Buddy Stevens is going to punt the ball. Another good stop by Reese. He is a good-looking sophomore linebacker.
He's from West Babylon, New York. Kevin Griffin back on to punt for the second time. His first one traveled 47 yards. That's a low wobbly kick. Takes a Dartmouth bounce and is down to the 17-yard line. First and 10 Yale with the 17. The Bulldogs lead 14-7 with 6:05 to play in the first half.
And the Dartmouth defense has to come up with some kind of big play here. They cannot allow the Bulldogs to march down the field, use up the rest of the 6 minutes in this first half. And even worse, at least as far as Dartmouth's perspective is, put any more points up on the board because the Bulldogs lead the Big Green by 7.
Mike Stewart goes in motion on first down. Troy Jenkins takes the handoff. He crashes forward for almost 3 out to about the 20-yard line.
Stop on the play for Dartmouth.
Troy Jenkins had a brother who played here at Dartmouth. He'd like to pursue a career in urban development when he finishes at Yale. He's a senior, economics major from Canton, Ohio. Second down, about 8 yards to go for Yale. Stewart running off right tackle, crosses the 20 and goes down to the 24. Paul Sorensen made the tackle, the junior math major, number 54.
Well, here we go. 3rd and about 4. Maybe a long 3. Dartmouth has got to be able to shut it down here. They've got to get the ball back into the hands of their offense because we're down to 5 minutes to play here in the first half.
You saw Mike Brubaker, the backup quarterback, flashing in the place, and the gentleman behind him was Seb Laspina, the offensive coordinator. He's in his 23rd year on Harm Cose's staff. Ryan was under pressure, throws complete to Athanasia. He has the first down as he's tripped up at the 33-yard line. Second catch for Dean Athanasia, his first one, an 8-yard touchdown reception.
The key to the play was the good block again by Troy Jenkins. He chopped down Jay Sweat, the linebacker. That enabled Ryan to break contain and find Athanasia for the first down.
Down to 4:35 to play, first half. Yale leads Dartmouth 14-7. The delay to Stewart. He got shirt tackled and hauled down at the 38-yard line after a gain of almost 5.
The Bulldogs have had problems hanging on to the football. They have also fumbled the ball 11 times this season. But many of those turnovers occurred earlier in the year. They've done a better job in clicking on the cylinders offensively the last couple of weeks, evidenced by the fact they've won 3 in a row.
Mike Stewart perhaps heading toward another 100-yard game. He's had 3 this season. Flags down as Zuba makes the reception and breaks a tackle. Lost the football. Dartmouth has recovered along the near sideline, but there is a penalty flag down on the play. Thrown in the area where you would expect offensive holding, and if that's the case, Dartmouth would obviously decline the penalty and take the football. Let's listen to Charlie Clough. It is holding against Yale. That will be declined, and Dartmouth will take over. 1st and 10 at the Yale 45 as Zuba, fighting for extra yardage, lost the football.
The Bulldogs took advantage of a Dartmouth fumble to score their 2nd touchdown.
Holding, offense, 10-yard penalty, refused, 1st down.
Paul Sorensen was one of the guys who made first contact. Let's see if we can spot the holding call. I think it was, look, maybe Art Coleman, number 70, or it could have been the center. In any event, Dartmouth's got the football.
Rourke, complete. Over the middle to Craig Morton, the all-Ivy receiver. He has a 1st down at the 34-yard line. They need to get the ball to Craig Morton today. That's his first catch of the day. What a year he had last season when he caught 44 passes for 1,063 yards and was the Ivy League Rookie of the Year.
Good concept here. They had the outside receiver cutting underneath Morton as the inside guy cleared the zone.
1st down, Big Green at the Yale 34. Dartmouth trails 14-7. Nearing the 3-minute mark remaining till halftime, and no gain on that play.
Jim
Pollard got
D'Onofrio.
the call.
Excuse me, Sean. Jim D'Onofrio, defensive tackle, was in the backfield waiting for Pollard.
Loss of about a half yard on the play for Pollard. That's really the first time today he's been bottled up. Has 13 carries and 66 yards.
Now we got 3 wide receivers, 2 to the right and 1 to Rourke's left.
Long count. Rourke throws to the near sideline, complete. Vince Bellaccio, number 18, made the catch. He's a senior from New City, New York. Out of bounds, short of a 1st down at a 28-yard line.
He gives you a little bit of a juggling act as this ball comes to him as he's heading out of bounds. He had control of it. Good call by the official on the sideline. He just had it gathered in time. Yale right now is double covering Morton wherever he goes, although here with Morton on the short side, he's drawing single coverage.
2:33 remaining. It's 3rd and 4. They go to the run. Pollard stopped short of a 1st down at the 25-yard line. Needed to reach the 24. It will be 4th down and 1.
That guy, number 32, John Reese, was heading up the charts. He had 17 tackles last week. The sophomore linebacker from the New York area, West Babylon, New York.
Buddy Stevens is going to go for it here on 4th down and 1 from the 25.
It's a healthy one, too.
Full house backfield. Clark has joined Phillips and Pollard behind Rourke. Pollard spins forward and probably picked it up with the 2nd effort. Didn't look like he had it initially, but he rolled off the pile, got down to the 23, and has the 1st down.
Coaches always tell running backs, keep your feet moving. If you keep your feet moving, even if you stacked up, something positive is going to happen. Good 2nd effort by Pollard to get a big 1st down.
Down to 1:30 to play till halftime. Yale 14, Dartmouth 7. The Big Green on the move, looking for the tying score. Rourke looking over the middle. It's complete for a short gain. John Reese made the tackle at the 19-yard line. It was David Anderson who made the catch, the junior from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Keep in mind, Dartmouth had to use that one timeout when they wanted Yale to kick into the wind in the first quarter. Down to 1 minute to play in the period. And they have just 2 times out remaining.
Second and 5 from the 18. Rourke, sack! Back at the 28-yard line, John Hansberry and Steve Essick, numbers 95 and 9, burst through. And Dartmouth forced to use a timeout after the loss of nearly 10 yards. 36 seconds to play in the half. 3rd and 15 upcoming for Dartmouth, back at the 27. They trail 14-7.
Dave Kelly, the defensive coordinator for the Bulldogs, gambling on the blitz. Chris Keck was open where Hansberry had come in on the blitz. That's the risk you take, and if it works, you look real good. If you're not, you give up a touchdown. It worked, so you looked real good.
Second sack of the season for John Hansberry, number 95, the junior from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Steve Essick also got in there, the cornerback. One timeout left for Dartmouth.
The sack also makes it a little bit questionable in terms of a field goal now for the Big Green. They get nothing here. It would end up being about a 44-yard try
into the wind for Carl Romero.
Into the wind, right. He's 4 out of 5, but we don't know about the strength of Romero's efforts. And Breeze is pretty good.
Third down and 15. 3 wideouts into the game. High formation behind Rourke. Looking deep, throwing, incomplete. Intended for David Anderson at the 10-yard line. That missed by a wide margin, and Buddy Stevens will try the field goal with Carl Romero.
The Yale secondary had good coverage on the play. Anderson, the guy slanting across the middle. Linebacker's got a good drop, and Rourke just pulled the trigger too soon.
The backup quarterback, Tom Shakeshaft, is the holder. This will be a 44-yard attempt into the breeze for Carl Romero, a junior from Englishtown, New Jersey. From the left hash mark. Kick is blocked. Richard Huff broke through and blocked it. And it's down inside the 8-yard line by Dartmouth. Yale takes over with 23 seconds to play in the half. They'll begin at their own 8, leading 14-7.
So the Big Green not able to capitalize on the turnover like Yale had been able to.
After the block, they'll bring the ball back to the original line of scrimmage. Yale will get it at the 27-yard line. 1st and 10.
See if Carm Koza is going to be content to take the 1 touchdown lead into the locker room, or if he'll gamble on a big play. Well, the way they're lined up, it would appear that nothing fancy is going to happen.
Stewart. Ahead for about 8 yards. Penalty flag down along the far sideline, and the clock stopped with 14 seconds to go.
Charlie Clough telling you the infraction goes against Yale, and now I would definitely say that Carm Koza is going to be content to go into the locker room with the 14-7 advantage.
While we have a moment, we should recognize the other officials working with Charlie Clough today. The umpire is Ed Ferranti of Syracuse, New York. The head linesman Art Benoit from Albany, New York. The line judge Tim Schmidt from Amherst, Massachusetts.
Still 1st down.
The field judge David Walker from Duxbury, Massachusetts, and the back judge is Jim Regan of West Roxbury, Massachusetts. It's 1st and 15 now. The ball spotted back on the 22-yard line. And it doesn't look like Yale will get another playoff. Time expires before the snap of the football. We're at halftime here on homecoming weekend at Memorial Field in Hanover, New Hampshire, and our score at the half is Yale 14 and Dartmouth 7. Dartmouth scored first on a 1-yard touchdown run by Terry Phillips. Yale came back in the first quarter, an 8-yard touchdown pass, Athanasia from Ryan, and Mike Stewart a 4-yard touchdown run in the second quarter. Yale 14, Dartmouth 7. We'll be right back to Memorial Field after this word from your local public television station.
There's something in this house. It's clammy and rotten. Whatever it is, it's in here with us.
I was working in the lab late one night.
Be afraid. Be afraid for heaven's sake.
Began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
It's back. 13's Halloween weekend, and everybody's just dying to see it.
And we've also got a special on-the-street treat coverage of the Halloween parade live from Greenwich Village. Join us this afternoon at 5.
Martin, his name was.
Martin?
Mr. Evelyn Martin.
Martin. I knew it began with an M.
This week on Mystery, Answers and Questions.
But if the blood was still liquid, Alexis could only have been dead a few minutes, 10 at the outside.
Hello. What have we here?
Dorothy Sayers have his carcass on Mystery.
Free will or foul play tonight at 9. There's no place like 13 for complete coverage of all election action. Tomorrow afternoon at 5, Marvin Kalb talks to Jesse Jackson. Monday at midnight, the Democratic candidates face off on social policy. And tune in Tuesday night for coverage of the New Jersey elections.
No, this isn't a new dinosaur movie. It's just a typical day at the seashore. We're 600 miles out in the Pacific Ocean, sharing some leisure time fun with all the locals. Water walking, body surfing, and sand surfing, ballet, romance, and just plain family fun. And of course, bird watching. After all, this is nature, and these are the Galapagos, where it's always cold on the equator.
Creatures of Frigid Determination tomorrow at 8.
We're back live at halftime at Memorial Field in Hanover, New Hampshire. It's homecoming weekend. And the score at the half is Yale 14 and Dartmouth 7. Dartmouth scored first on the Big Green's first possession of the football game. A 62-yard drive and 11 plays capped off on a 1-yard touchdown run by Terry Phillips. Carl Romero kicked the extra point with 8:24 to play in the first quarter. Dartmouth had a 7-0 lead, but Yale came right back on the ensuing possession, marched down the field 78 yards in 10 plays. 5-minute drive, culminating in an 8-yard touchdown pass by Kelly Ryan to Dean Athanasia. 7-7 the score at the end of the first quarter. And Yale grabbed the lead in the second quarter, a 63-yard drive in 11 plays, also a 5-minute drive. Mike Stewart, a 4-yard touchdown run. Andrew Walton kicked both extra points for Yale, and our score at the half. As you see, Yale 14 and Dartmouth 7. Now let's pay a visit to Yale University and learn more about their undergraduate studies program in the sciences.
It's like exploring in the some hundreds of years ago. One would explore by sailing a ship across uncharted seas, but all the seas on that scale are now charted, and the ones that are uncharted are the ones that are too small to see with your eye.
But we're trying to find out, why is nature as simple as it is? Physicists, that's what we've been doing for, since the age of the Greeks, trying to understand the myriad of phenomena that we see in the world. The sky is blue, the nature of water, the lightning, everything you see is a physical manifestation of some underlying principles. And people seem to want to understand those principles, people like me.
I love invention. I love creating a new idea, seeing something that's an unsolved problem and solving it.
The really important decisions you make are aesthetic decisions. Like when I make a decision as to how I'm going to attack a problem, what kind of an experiment I'm going to do, what kind of an equation we want to describe what we think is happening. The real choice is not based on the fact that I know what it should be. The real choice is almost always based on, does it look right? Is it pretty?
I think the thing that really makes the difference in science is that it gives one the capacity to make connections. You soak up a lot of information in the course of your training and the course of your work. And then suddenly you see that maybe some idea or some notion hooks up with another one. And then you have something new.
The tradition here is a very old one. We were probably one of the very first universities on this continent that had a tradition in the sciences. It started way back in the early 1800s, and by the end of the 1800s, we had an international reputation.
I have to say that Yale sciences are definitely special because of the size of the classes and the accessibility of the people who teach them, and, you know, of course, the quality of the people teaching the classes, too. Professor Danishevsky often, you know, just wanders around labs and peeks into people's experiments now and then just to see, you know, if things are going right. There's going to be a certain level of competition, but I haven't found that people are here out to get each other. It's more of a communal atmosphere, a little more genuine concern for each other.
Is located near tail short, and maybe even might be tail short.
We think we'll be able to catalog a great many of the human genes by the turn of the century. That may be as many as 100,000 genes. But in addition, if we knew some of these rules which govern genes during development, there would be opportunities for understanding better and controlling chronic diseases such as cancer. I like science for a number of different reasons. I like the materials. I like the objects that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, cells, organisms. I like the instrumentation that we use to extend our own senses, the microscopes, the electron microscopes, and that sort of thing. It's all fun to me. I guess it's part of not having grown up completely.
That piece, of course, provided to us by Yale University. At halftime, the Bulldogs lead the Big Green of Dartmouth by a score of 14-7. A very special part of the homecoming festivities this weekend here in Hanover, the induction into the National Football Foundation's College Football Hall of Fame of Coach Bob Blackman, the legendary football coach who coached here at Dartmouth from 1955 until 1970. The finest years of his prestigious coaching career here at Dartmouth when the Big Green won 104 games, lost only 37 and tied 3. And under Blackman's guidance, Dartmouth won 2 Lambert trophies, enjoyed undefeated seasons in 1962, 65, and 70, and won 7 Ivy League championships. Coach Blackman down on the sidelines now live with our Mike Madden. Mike?
Yeah, I'm standing here with Coach Blackman now. Coach, it's homecoming weekend here at Dartmouth, all the festivities in full bloom here. I was wondering if you had one single fondest memory of your years here at Dartmouth.
I just couldn't single out one. It's been so wonderful seeing all the former players. We had today probably, well, maybe 30 of the 1962 undefeated team, as well as, of course, the captains, the 65 and 71s, and it's really a thrill to be back here and see all these people.
Coach, your 1970 team finished ranked 17th in the country. Since then, you know, in the last 17 years, the Ivy League hasn't really come up with a national power. I was wondering what you feel about the Ivy League's role in college football.
Well, in all honesty, I really don't think the Ivy League has gone down as much as colleges throughout the country have gone up. At so many schools now, football is almost a year-round job. They're weight training or doing things all year, and I have nothing against that, but I really think the players in the Ivy League enjoy the game more. They still play it for fun, and I think that's the way it should be.
Coach, since your retirement, I understand you haven't let go of the game of football in total. Do you care to tell us how you keep involved now?
Well, I have the privilege of selecting the players and the coaches for the East team in the annual East-West Shrine Game. That's the most prestigious of all the college all-star games. It's been going 63 years now, and as such, I'm talking every week with coaches throughout the eastern half of the country. I receive all the press releases, and so I really enjoy keeping my hand in football that way.
All right, well, Coach, thank you very much, and congratulations on your induction and your fine career.
Okay, Mike Madden with Bob Blackman, one of the great names in all of college football, particularly here at Dartmouth College. This is the first homecoming weekend for James O. Friedman as the 15th president of Dartmouth College, the native of Manchester, New Hampshire, who was a Harvard graduate and a Yale Law School graduate, was the president of the University of Iowa in 1982 through 1987, and now he is here at Dartmouth, and he is taking part in the festivities. And yesterday I had a chance to talk with President Friedman and several of the students about the scene and the lifestyle, so to speak, at Dartmouth College. What is life like on the Dartmouth College campus on homecoming weekend? Well, what better way to get an update on it than to talk with some of the leaders. Of course, the president of Dartmouth College, James O. Friedman, and some student leaders. We're going to find out a little bit about Dartmouth. Rosalind Barnes to my left, a student assistant to the president, and Jack Steinberg, who is the editor of the Dartmouth, one of the school newspapers. We'll start off with you, President Friedman. You, in a sense, have come from the big to the small, so to speak. You were at the University of Iowa, and you return to your roots, so to speak, New Hampshire to Dartmouth College. What sort of goals do you have? What were the things you had in mind when you accepted the presidency of Dartmouth College?
Well, my fundamental goal for Dartmouth College, Jack, is to enhance its academic distinction in the years ahead. Dartmouth has always been one of the leading liberal arts institutions in this country. We have an extraordinarily strong faculty and student body, and I think Dartmouth's role is to be a champion of the liberal arts in the years ahead.
Let's talk about the liberal arts perspective. We hear so much nowadays about the high-tech world. We have the specialization so much in the world. Can a liberal arts education survive in the environment of the 80s and into the 21st century?
A liberal arts education is essential for the 80s and for the next century. All of the high-tech equipment in the world is useless if people do not have imagination, judgment, the power to understand how to use that equipment. Liberal arts education is about teaching students those capacities of reasoning, of speaking clearly, of exercising wise judgment, of all the things that are going to be necessary to help us understand and master the high-tech world we're moving into.
And obviously, in that liberal arts perspective, you are dependent upon a very strong faculty.
Absolutely, and one of Dartmouth's prides is the quality of its faculty who teach in the classroom, who do research, who are, of course, nationally and internationally known for the quality of their work.
The people who work all the time with the faculty are among the people we are sitting with here this afternoon by way of videotape. Rosalind and Jack, you made the choice now coming on 4 years ago, since you were both seniors here at Dartmouth, to choose this institution. I'll start with you, Rosalind. What were the aspects of the Dartmouth reputation that made you want to come here?
Well, I like the liberal arts education. First of all, I know I wanted to learn to question and broaden my intellectual aspects that I hope to acquire while I was in high school. And then they have a very extensive program with foreign studies, and I was interested in French, Spanish, and I have had a chance to get involved in both those languages and have had a chance to meet people from those countries, and that's been very important to me, meeting different peoples.
And what about you, Jack? What has made Dartmouth the choice for you, and has it been everything you wanted it to be?
Oh, it's definitely been everything and more than I wanted it to be. It's obviously the liberal arts is an attraction, but for me it was the environment. Dartmouth's such a beautiful place. It's sort of a place where you can be studying in the library one minute, and if you're having trouble solving a problem, you can be out walking around a pond or looking at a mountain or something like that. And I just think it's a great environment to learn in.
Some people talk about the fact that Dartmouth, up in this beautiful environment and all that, is perhaps too isolated from the problems, the realities of modern life now. Would you agree with that?
No, I'd have to disagree with that. I think Dartmouth every college campus is going to be isolated to a certain extent just as it comes into itself. But Dartmouth students are incredibly well read. I mean, they can read the New York Times as well as anybody who's in New York. And I think that it's there's a real attempt to actually overcompensate and really keep on top of current events because you are so physically removed.
What are some of the problems, Rosalind, for the students of the 80s and the 90s upcoming?
First of all, I think students and young people need to learn to think. That's one thing, and to work out problems and to understand where our problems come from and to be able to reach within ourselves to make solutions. And so for me, the kind of atmosphere that Dartmouth has with its diversity in its students and its faculty allows the students to start questioning some of the things that we are dealing with as young people as well as Americans.
And for you, President Friedman, obviously the academic excellence and the academic emphasis here at Dartmouth is very important, but as we watch the Dartmouth football team practice right now, just part of a large athletic program, how does the student-athlete fit into the overall Dartmouth picture?
Student-athlete fits in no differently than the musician-athlete or the literary athlete. Athletics are one of our extracurricular activities. I think they play a healthy role in helping students gain greater mastery over themselves, self-discipline, notions of teamwork, but they are part of our student body just as if they were the editor of the Dartmouth, as Jack is, just as if they were a student intern, as Rosalind is, or engaged in the choir or the glee club or the debate team or any number of our student activities.
Very obviously, President Friedman, you are excited about being here and anticipate a lot of things happening in the years to come here at Dartmouth.
Very much so. I think we are going to be a more international institution in the years ahead. I hope we're going to attract a student body that continues to be as vibrant and interesting and inquisitive as our present student body. And I hope we're going to be a champion of the liberal arts in this country.
Well, for the Dartmouth alumni who are watching us today, I think you can safely say that your institution is in very fine hands with President Friedman, and that the undergraduates, such as the two people we have here today, speak well of what Dartmouth College is, where it's headed, what it wants to be. We'll be back with more halftime here from Hanover right after we take this time out.
The Ivy League football game of the week is made possible by a grant from Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. And by a grant from the financial professionals at Payne Weber. Sean McDonough with Jack Corrigan and Mike Madden back here at Memorial Field in Hanover, New Hampshire. Our score at the half, Yale 14 and Dartmouth 7. It was Dartmouth grabbing the lead in the first quarter. Their first drive of the game resulted in a touchdown as we look at the halftime statistics, and the total yardage numbers fairly even. Yale enjoying the advantage 184 to 123, and good yardage gain on the ground by the leading backs on both sides. Mike Stewart rushed for 61 yards in the first half for Yale, and Chris Pollard rushed for 71 yards for Dartmouth.
And I think Dartmouth, had they been able to sustain what they did in that first drive, Sean, would be in much better shape than they are right now. 14-7, they're still very much in this football game. But the way they began the ball game in that first touchdown drive, it appeared that they really had things the way they wanted it to go in this football game. The culmination of the 62-yard touchdown drive came on this dive up and over the top by Terry Phillips, the fullback for the Big Green, and Dartmouth had an early 7-0 lead, but all that touchdown served to do, Sean, was awaken the Yale offense, and Kelly Ryan is able to rocket this ball into coverage to his favorite target. Their fine tight end, Dean Athanasia, scores the equalizer for Yale to make it 7-7, and then Yale took a 14-7 lead as Mike Stewart rambled in from 4 yards out. The conversion kicks on all three scores were good, and that's why we have the 14-7 situation to start the second half. Dartmouth will have the ball to begin, and quite obviously Buddy Tevens is going to want to get into the end zone quickly, and as I look down on the sidelines, Mike Madden is with Buddy Tevens.
Coach, it's 14-7 at halftime. Your team ran the ball real well in the first half. What can we look for you to do in the second half here?
I think pretty much the same type of attack. We moved the ball successfully. We stopped ourselves on a number of occasions. We eliminate the mental mistakes. I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Buddy Tevens, winner of the Bushnell Award, is the Ivy League's outstanding football player. back in 1978 when he led the Dartmouth Big Green to their last Ivy League football championship. He was first team All-Ivy that year, the ECAC Division 1A Player of the Year. As we look at scores from around the Ivy League, Princeton 7-0 over Penn, and Bucknell 7-0 over Cornell in a non-league game.
Columbia hanging in there against Lehigh, 13-10 in the second period down in New York, and Harvard in the other big Ivy contest, leading the Brown Bruins at halftime 7-3. Navy has the unenviable task of being down this year, playing a pretty good Notre Dame club. And Clemson's been struggling most of the year. Wake Forest was 5-0 and haven't won since then. Upset in the making at Chestnut Hill. Boston College leading Tennessee.
Boston College has been blown out the past 2 weeks.
Oklahoma on the way to another victory, and Iowa trying to get things interesting again in the Big Ten as Indiana is down pretty good. The scores around the East. It's a Yankee Conference game. The Blue Hens leading Maine. Holy Cross, the #1 team in Division I AA, just continues to roll along.
And some might say roll it up on some of their opponents. Lots of controversy on the Boston television stations this week and in the newspapers surrounding Coach Mark Duffner of Holy Cross. Some have accused him of running it up on the opposition. Last week against Brown with a 34-0 lead for Holy Cross in the fourth quarter. The second team was out there for Holy Cross, but they went with a no-huddle offense, ran down the field and scored a touchdown pass in the game's final moments to win 41-0. While we have a moment, we'll take a look at the lists of distinguished alumni from these two schools. Vincent Price must like Halloween. It's his kind of day. Set to go now in the second half. Yale will kick off into the wind. So Dartmouth will have the ball and the wind at their back to begin the third quarter as Yale leads by a score of 14-7. Jonathan Gastel, number 19, will kick off for Yale. Their problems in the kicking game, Jack, could come up to hurt them, if not in this game, certainly down the stretch as they face Cornell, Princeton, and Harvard over the season's final 3 weeks. Oftentimes those big games with championships on the line are decided by the kicking game, and it's been community auditions from a place kicking standpoint this year for Yale. And the punting of Todd Cowan has been weak all season, averaging less than 30 yards per kick.
He's had 2 for under 26 yards a kick this afternoon, and I'd say without a doubt that may come back to haunt Yale as time goes on, but they've been the magical team so far with 3 final minute victories on the way to their 4-2 record.
Gastel's a senior from Rochester, New York. Lines it down the field, bouncing and picked up by Nick Stanham at the 15. Trying to get outside to the right. He can turn the corner. He has running room. He won't turn the corner, and is taken down by Jim Parsons, number 36, at the 36-yard line. Still good field position for the Dartmouth offense to begin here in the second half. Chris Rourke, a fine first half passing for Dartmouth. He was 6 of 7 for 46 yards.
They were still not able to stretch that Yale defense deep with Craig Morton.
Steven Anderson goes in motion to the left. Hand off to Pollard. Pulls his way out near the 40. Gain of almost 4 yards for Chris Pollard as he hopes to head toward a 100-yard game. He had 71 at halftime.
Before the ball game, Chris Pollard's dad came up as we were taping our opening and said, well, I just want to let you know I'm Chris Pollard's dad and I'm pretty proud of him.
His dad played baseball Bill Pollard at Plymouth State here in New Hampshire. Pollard came into the game with just 85 yards rushing for the entire season. He has nearly matched that in one half today. That pass complete to Chris Keck, the tight end. He has a first down out near midfield. At the 47-yard line, Keck with the catch. He's a senior from Pennsylvania, an economics major.
That's a read when the opposition blitzes. The tight end becomes what is known as the hot receiver. He just finds the space where the linebacker is vacated. Rourke did a good job of picking it up.
Second reception of the day for Keck. From the 47, the pitch to Pollard. He's taken down at the 50-yard line by Steve Essick, the sophomore, number 9, from Santee, California.
Terry Phillips, the fullback, did a good job of getting Pollard out to the corner, but then Steve Essick, number 9, right there, really flew up from his secondary position to keep that from being a big gain. They did pick up about 3. There's
Pollard.
Terry Phillips.
Pollard is up to 78 yards for the game on 18 carries. 14-7 is our score. Yale leads in the opening moments of the third quarter. Rourke under pressure, throws incomplete, intended for Chris Keck. Slight contact in the secondary with Richard Huff, but no flags thrown.
There's some of the souvenir, those little tiny footballs. Throw them up into the crowd. I mean, that's how you find a new quarterback sometimes, right?
Not a bad arm on that young man. With as cold as it is here today, and those little plastic footballs, I don't know if I'd want to catch one of those. Hands are a little too cold.
First time we've seen that today.
Rourke. Looking deep downfield. It's complete to Craig Morton. He has a first down at the Yale 37. He was looking for Morton all the way and found him.
It's the first time they've really gone to a gimmick. They show us the shotgun for the first time. Watch the top of your screen. Morton looking like he's going to run deep. That's what is called a bench route. It's a little turn to the outside like you're running deep, and then you bring it back towards the bench on the sideline. The quarterback on a timing play releases it. Worked well.
Chris Rourke has been right on the money. 8 for 10 passing thus far in the football game. Came in completing just 47% of his passes. Going to the sideline, that's complete. Out of bounds goes David Anderson at the 24-yard line. Good for another Big Green first down. The Dartmouth Big Green scored on their first possession of the football game, and they're looking to score again on the first possession of the second half.
They had a little bit of pressure on, but Rourke did a good job of hanging in there in the teeth of the rush. Anderson was wide open.
3 catches for Anderson for 25 yards today. First and 10 at the Yale 24. 12:40 to play third quarter. Yale 14, Dartmouth 7. Pollard takes the pitch, cuts it inside. Still on his feet, and he lunges forward to about the 18 for a gain of about 6.
Dave Sullivan, the free safety, was able to knock Pollard off balance enough for the junior to fall down before he could get even more real estate covered. But Dartmouth has been as impressive in this drive as their initial drive. You're right, Sean. Mixing it up well. Now they're showing the wrinkles. They were pretty basic in the first half.
Phillips and Pollard in the I formation. Rourke, quick drop, throws to the sideline, incomplete, intended for Craig Morton. Richard Huff on the coverage. 30-year-old Buddy Tevens pondering this third down play, third and about 4.
Yale again came with the safety blitz with Dave Sullivan. Forced Rourke to throw that ball about a half a count sooner than he wanted to Morton. A one-back offense again.
Phillips shifted into the backfield now with Pollard. Rourke with time. Looking at the end zone. Throws for Anderson, incomplete. Pass wobbly and a bit high. Bob Stokes was on the coverage for Yale, number 29.
He wanted to go to Craig Morton on a post route. But excellent coverage by Essick underneath. And then the deep coverage by Rich Huff forced him to come off onto Anderson. He couldn't make the completion.
Little contact there on Morton. Shake shaft holding for Carl Romero. His only previous field goal attempt of the day was blocked. This one a 34-yard attempt. That kick is wide to the right. So an impressive drive by Dartmouth results in nothing as Romero misses from 34 yards out. Yale gets the ball back 1st and 10 with 11:47 to play in the 3rd quarter, and the Bulldogs lead 14-7.
As we take a look at more of the alumni of these two schools, as you see the Halloween scene.
I thought you were referring to the pumpkins.
Well, no, come on. That looked like a familiar little girl there as well. I think that was our producer's daughter, Robin, checking out the pumpkins there.
From the 21st and 10, Kelly Ryan hands off to Mike Stewart. He's ahead for about 5 yards before Paul Sorensen dragged him down. Sorensen, an academic All-American candidate, a perfect 4.0 grade point average at Dartmouth as a math major for the junior from Cupertino, California. All A's.
Now the Dartmouth defense, this is a crucial time for them. Disappointed that the offense came away with no points. They've got to keep the momentum on their side.
2nd down 5. Jenkins lost the football. Kelly Ryan fell on it at the 26-yard line. They gained a yard on the fumble.
There's the offensive coordinator for the Dartmouth Big Green making some adjustments. Buddy Tevens, of course, is greatly involved in how things run as you watch the play again, as Troy Jenkins had the ball pop out when he ran into the back of Art Coleman.
On 3rd down and 4, Ryan got hit as he threw it, completed the pass out to the 40-yard line. Tom Zuba made the catch. Or check that, Bob Shoup, number 17, not 27. Zuba came up with the football. Good for a 1st down, and credit Kelly Ryan with hanging in there under a heavy rush.
First time that the Big Green has been able to put pressure on Ryan, and they had pretty good coverage downfield. But unfortunately, Rob Comby got there just a half a second too late, and it's good work by Shoup. You know when you run a middle route, you're going to get hit.
Jenkins can't even get back to the line of scrimmage. Brett Matthews, the senior strong safety, came up to be in on the tackle with help from Paul Michael.
Again, though, Dartmouth is in a situation here that they have to try and create something defensively, have to cause a turnover to take advantage of the breeze to their back to get back into the football game. They're only down 7, but if they continue to trail into the 4th quarter, it's going to be tougher against that breeze. Again, the stop momentarily because the huddle clock was not in operation. And you see next week's schedule in the Ivy League, and we'll be at the Yale Bowl for the Bulldogs and the Big Red of Cornell.
Loss of 3 on the carry by Jenkins at 2nd and 13. Ryan throws, complete to Mike Stewart. He's tackled by Paul Michael at the 47-yard line. About 3.5 yards short of a 1st down.
It's another aspect of the Yale offense that I really am impressed with. They roll Ryan out to one flank and then throw back to the middle, get the defense overcompensating, take advantage of their aggressiveness. As they roll to try and cut off Ryan, they leave their back flank exposed.
Yale leads 14-7. 8:45 to play. 3rd quarter, and it's 3rd and 4. Ryan dumps it off, complete to Shoup. He has a 1st down, and he's inside the 45-yard line of Dartmouth, down at the 42.
Bulldogs ran a trips formation that time as they put Mike Stewart out there along with Shoup and Zuba. Shoup was the underneath guy. If the deep guys weren't open, you hit the underneath guy and get the 1st down. He made more out of it.
Happy Halloween to all of you watching across the United States on PBS. He came disguised as a cold little boy. Stewart. Flag down. 2 flags come down on the play as Stewart got about 7 yards.
Brent Fry and Art Coleman were going at it on the right side of the Yale offensive line. And apparently Coleman was getting Fry from behind, and a clipping infraction will go against the Bulldogs.
Buddy Stevens and Carm Koza going head-to-head for the first time as head coaches. This one a 15-yard walk-off against Yale, and puts them back at the 45.
15-yard penalty, still first down.
We've not had many penalties, as you can see there. It's been a well-played game in that regard. We've had only 2 turnovers, a fumble on each side. Yale took advantage of the Dartmouth fumble to score the touchdown that's got them on top right now.
It's 1st and 23 after the walk-off. Stewart on the draw. Back into Dartmouth territory and down at the 46-yard line. Brent Fry made the tackle, the senior from Grangeville, Idaho, number 81. Seb Laspina sends in the play with Rich Schulte. 23 years as the offensive coordinator at Yale. All of those years with Carm Koza as the head coach. Second and 14. Ryan throws incomplete. Intended for Mike Stewart. He was heading up the sideline, and the ball was thrown underneath by Kelly Ryan.
A couple other items of interest that we want to pass along in regards to the Ivy League. Steve Tosches is no longer the interim head coach. He is now officially the head coach at Princeton. We're pleased to see that and wish Steve the best of luck. I think he is going to be a fine young coach here in the Ivy League. Also, congratulations to John Coazzo, the center of the Brown University Bruins. He was named one of 11 men as a scholar athlete with the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame.
Ryan looping it for Schulte. He has it at the 31-yard line. Appears to have a first down. It'll depend upon where, oh, they spot him back at the 32. That might make it close. Looked like he was hit originally at the 31-yard line, which would have given him the first down.
Again, the Dartmouth defenders get caught a little bit with covering air. You know, when you get into zone coverage, you've got to realize that after a period of time, you've got to go to the man. You can't just cover territory, and I think that's been the principal problem with this Dartmouth secondary. They break on the ball too late, let the guy catch it, and then make the play. You got to get to him before he catches it.
Measurement here. And it's a first down for Yale. Rich Schulte on the catch, the senior from Miami, Florida. While we have a moment, we want to tell you about the Dartmouth men's cross-country team, which won its 4th straight heptagonal championship yesterday in New York City with 27 points. Brown was a distant second with 51. Big Green placed 5 runners in the top 10, including Bob Kempanen, who was second. Men's soccer action this morning. Dartmouth 1, Yale nothing. On first down, the handoff goes to Stewart. Up the middle, across the 30 and down to the 27-yard line after a gain of 5. Down to 6:55 to play, third quarter. Yale 14, Dartmouth 7. In the women's cross-country heptagonal championship at Van Cortlandt Park in New York City yesterday, the Dartmouth women's cross-country team was 3rd behind Yale and Princeton. Yale had 30 points overall, Princeton 69, Dartmouth 84. So congratulations to the Yale women. Ryan on 2nd and 5 completes it to Athanasia. He has a first down inside the 20. And down at the 18-yard line, Paul Michael, Brent Matthews on the tackle.
You cannot say enough about the preparation Seb Laspina has done with this offensive unit. Every time this afternoon, except on one occasion, when Dartmouth has blitzed, the blitzing backer has been picked up, or they've run away from the blitz and gained positive yardage. Kelly Ryan is definitely running the show today.
1st and 10. Yale knocking on the door at the 18. Stewart got back to the line of scrimmage. That's all. He took a hit from Ish McLaughlin, number 94, the senior nose guard from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
But this long time-consuming drive, as you watch this play again, McLaughlin came off the block of Ken Tulo and made the play.
Gave him a little extra.
But this long time-consuming drive is going to take the wind away from Dartmouth here pretty soon. We're down to 5.5 minutes and a quarter.
We should point out, though, as the afternoon has gone along, the wind has diminished. Bryant going to the end zone for a shoot, well overthrown. Double coverage by Comby and Russell. The freshman football game between these two schools went to Yale by a score of 28-22. And in women's field hockey action today, in overtime, Dartmouth beat Yale 2-1. Third down 10 upcoming here for Yale. They lead 14-7 with 5:21 to play in the third quarter. They're at the Dartmouth 18.
The way things have gone with the field goal unit, this might be 4-down territory for Yale.
Stewart up the middle, stopped short of a first down by just about 5 yards. Tackled at the 13-yard line by Paul Sorensen. Seb Laspina and Carm Koza have had these conversations before over the past 23 years, and they're sending the field goal team out.
And it will be Andrew Walton attempting the field goal. He's had the 2 conversions after the Yale touchdowns.
He has not attempted a field goal this year. Dave Derby has been the field goal kicker. 30-yarder for Walton. It is good. Right down the middle for Andrew Walton. And with 4:38 to play in the third quarter, Yale has expanded its lead to 17-7.
Yale trying to make it 4 in a row and have an opportunity to stay in the hunt in the Ivy League race. As Sean McDonough mentioned, big finish for the Bulldogs. They'll be tangling with Cornell next week, a game we'll be bringing you here in the Ivy League Game of the Week. Then they'll be at Princeton and then back home for the game against the Harvard Crimson on November 21st. Harvard 14-3 now. The Crimson doing their thing. It's an upset in the making.
That is not.
No. And that West Virginia team is going to give lots of people all they can handle, including your alma mater, Syracuse, at the end of the year. Boston College still on the way to that upset over Tennessee.
Coach Paul Pollock has done a nice job at Northeastern this year, and their program's been down for quite some time.
He was one of the assistant coaches at Cornell when I played. I'm glad to see Paul doing well at Northeastern.
That's the only reason I threw in the plug for him, Jack. I knew he was a friend of yours.
That's right.
Gastel, the line drive kick again, bounces to Stanham at the 14. Nick Stanham out to the 30 and down to the 32-yard line. Let's go down to Mike Madden right here.
Sean, I think what we got to see at Dartmouth's offense is, like Coach Stevens said, they got to remain consistent on the ground. But the other thing that we got to see is Chris Rourke going downfield and out wide. During the first half, he limited his vision to just short passes right over the middle. I think in that first drive, he went downfield, and let's see if he continues to do so.
Craig Morton still has not gotten unleashed for the Big Green of Dartmouth, trailing now by 10 with 4:32 to play in the third quarter. Rourke looking into a bright sun, throws over the middle, and it is incomplete. Intended for Chris Keck, he nearly made a fine diving catch, but did not come up with it. 2nd and 10 for the Big Green.
Keck had a little bit of contact with Tyler Johnson, the linebacker, covering on the play. As you see that ball coming right at you. And good short hop job by Chris Keck.
Keck was a quarterback as a freshman. Missed all of last year due to illness. He stepped in and wrestled the job away from Matt Drury, who was the senior co-captain of the Big Green. On 2nd and 10, Pollard gets the call up the middle. He's across the 35 and down to the 36 after a gain of 3.
Big third down call here for Buddy Tevens. I believe he's got to go to the sidelines, try and work some kind of double pattern with Anderson and Morton if he can. Yale has increasingly gone to double coverage, putting cornerbacks rolled up underneath against the guys and putting some body contact on them and still having a safety deep on the play.
Rourke throwing incomplete. Threw short of David Anderson. Robert Stokes was on the coverage for Yale, and Dartmouth is going to go 3 downs and punt.
Not what the Big Green needed to do there, because they have all but lost that advantage of the breeze, although, as Sean has indicated, much less of a factor here in the second half than it was in the first half.
Kevin Griffin has been the starting punter for Dartmouth for 3 years. He's a senior from Chicopee, Mass. Got that off, flag down on the play. Shoup fields it at the 37, gets to the 40, and that's all. And we'll check out the penalty flag. Back at the line of scrimmage.
If it's an offside call on Yale, it'll be an interesting decision for Dartmouth. But since it's against the Big Green and with the ball at the 40, I've got to believe that Yale will decline the penalty. And they've got good field position there. The offensive unit already coming out onto the field. Buddy Tiemens asking, who is the guy in motion?
Jack, I know you feel the same way. I am fully confident that Buddy Tiemens is going to restore the tradition of winning football to Dartmouth. Bright young coach, one of the youngest in the nation at 30 years old. He was the youngest head coach in the nation when he took over at the University of Maine at age 27. Yale leads by 10. They have the ball, and on first down, Kevin Bryce goes up the middle. He struggled forward for about 4 yards.
We talked at the beginning of the ball game of Dartmouth trying to do some wrinkles, so to speak, offensively and defensively. It's been hard for them to do a lot of different things defensively because Yale's balance doesn't really give you a chance to guess on certain things, to take advantage of tendencies. When a team is that balanced, there really aren't any tendencies.
Bryce gained 4 on first down at 2nd and 6 from the 44. Bryan looking to pass, dumps it off. Bryce was wide open, he dropped it, and it was nearly intercepted by Scott Sims.
Scott Sims, who has already tied the school record here at Dartmouth for interceptions in a season with 6, almost became the lucky recipient of number 7 off the hands of Kevin Bryce.
Class of 34 represented in homecoming weekend.
Sims shares that interception record with Joe Sullivan of the class of 47 and Charles Williams, class of 1981 here at Dartmouth College.
Bryan looking over the middle, throws to Athanasia, complete. He was looking a lateral and threw it out of bounds.
He was looking to lateral because he knew he was shy of the first down, and he was hoping that he could find somebody who could cover the rest of the distance. Good job that time by Cliff Curry, who came up and stopped Athanasia short of the first down because he caught the ball right at about the first down yardage, maybe just a little bit shy, and Curry there hung on to him long enough to force him back, and then Jay Sweat was there to help out. Athanasia doesn't get the first down, and Yale has to punt.
Todd Cowan, the sophomore from Heartland, Michigan, back on the punt. Very high kick into the sunshine. Morton calls for a fair catch. There should be flags on that play, and there are. They have to give Morton 2 yards to catch that ball, and Art Kelman, number 70, was well within the 2-yard radius.
Charlie Clough giving you the indication. You can see right here, number 70, Art Coleman. He's in Morton's hip pocket.
And it's tough to miss at 6'6.5" and 285 that he was violating
Kick
Morton's space.
Interference on the kicking team within 2 yards of the receiver.
Tyler Johnson was also there on the play, so you shouldn't just single out Mr. Coleman.
although he was the easier of the two to
Yes,
spot.
the very easy target. You're right, Sean.
After the 5-yard penalty, it's 1st and 10 Dartmouth at the Big Green 35. 17-7, Yale leads, 2:08 to play, third quarter. Dartmouth has not scored since its first possession of the football game. Terry Phillips squirms forward for about 3 out to the 38.
Now going to play by 9, Essex.
Terry Phillips, the English major from Parma Heights, Ohio. Valley Forge High School. That's about 10 minutes from my house.
I went to the wrong school, Jack. 2nd and 7. Pollard. Close to a first down, about a yard shy at the 44. Pollard nearing 100 yards on the day. That puts him over 90.
Well, that graphic tells you more than anything the problems for Dartmouth this year have. There have been a lot of them, but most of them have been if you can't put enough points up on the board, you're not going to win too often.
3rd and 1. Full house backfield behind Rourke. Phillips has the first down as he crosses the 45 and lunges ahead to the 47.
First down, Dartmouth.
Dartmouth has been able to run the ball with some effectiveness today, to say the least. They came into the ball game averaging just 107 yards a game on the ground. They have just about that right now with the whole period yet to play.
Pollard has 94 yards rushing. Phillips has 20. Anderson in motion. Pollard again. Big hole. He's in Yale territory and has a first down at the 41. That'll put him over 100 yards on the day. First 100-yard effort of his career for Chris Pollard.
Young man from Greenfield, Massachusetts. He's shown good vision. I've been impressed with that. He finds the openings very, very well.
Dartmouth moving in and out of the huddle very quickly here as we make our way toward the final seconds of the third quarter. Pollard cuts it inside and has about 5 more. He's down to the 37-yard line, and that will be the final play of the third quarter. Yale led by a score of 14-7 at the half. They've added 3 points to that lead with an Andrew Walton field goal of 30 yards in the third quarter. Our score at the end of 3 quarters of play is Yale 17 and Dartmouth 7. We'll return to Memorial Field in just a moment. The Ivy League football game of the week is made possible by a grant from Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. And by a grant from the financial professionals at Payne Weber. As always, all of us along the Ivy League network would like to add our special thanks to our 2 fine underwriters, Payne Weber and Chrysler Plymouth. While we have a moment, we'd also like to thank Mr. James O. Friedman, the president of Dartmouth College, Ted Leland, the director of athletics, and Kathy Slattery, a fine golfer, and a name not difficult to pronounce, sports information director here at Dartmouth, for all their efforts. We'll thank the Yale folks in just a moment. Play set to continue now as we move into the fourth quarter. 17-7 the score. Yale leads.
But the way things are going for Dartmouth, they really need to score on this possession, Sean, because you have to believe that Yale is going to be able to take some time off the clock when they have the football. So Dartmouth was not going to get many more opportunities. They need to take advantage of this possession.
2nd down and 5. Dartmouth at the Yale 37.
Hansberry showing blitz.
Phillips got stopped right at the 35-yard line after a gain of 2. We'd also like to thank Mr. Benno C. Schmidt, Jr., the president of Yale University, Donald Kagan, the director of athletics, Mark Curran, the sports information director, and his staff for all of their generous assistance. And while we have a moment, we want to thank Scott Garber and Dave Burke, who've been helping us in the booth today. Third down, a long 4.
Come on now.
Pollard has the first down as he crashes inside the 30. Goes down in the arms of Dave Sullivan at the 28-yard line.
Chris Pollard has certainly taken advantage of an opportunity to be the starting tailback with the injury last week to Sean Page. I've been impressed.
I'm impressed with how quickly Dartmouth is getting in and out of the huddle here, using less than 10 seconds to get these plays off.
Rourke's calling a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage.
Pollard up to 118 yards rushing on the day. He gets the call again and gets about 2 more down to the 26. 13:55 to play and the clock running here in the 4th quarter.
Yet in situations like this, what they are basically doing is just calling a formation, saying, all right, you know, Brown right or trips right or whatever their terminology is. They come up on the line of scrimmage. Rourke reads the defense and calls an appropriate play out of that formation.
The I formation right now on 2nd and 8. Yale leads 17-7. David Anderson in motion. Pollard again in trouble behind the line of scrimmage and got back just about to the line of scrimmage.
Tony Capolino, the defensive end, on an inside stunt move, met Terry Phillips, the blocking back, before Terry had a chance to get any speed up. That froze Pollard in the backfield, and that kind of play you've got to hit quickly or you're in difficulty.
That's where we'll be next week at the Yale Bowl in New Haven, Connecticut. The Bulldogs hope to be 5-2 overall and 3-1 in the Ivy League when they host the Big Red. Rourke on 3rd and 8, got hit, and it's incomplete. John Hansberry came on the blitz and got to Rourke. Hansberry's been a factor. He's a junior from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and a chemical engineering major.
Dartmouth has to go for it now. They're trailing by 10, and with 12:43 to play, a field goal, that's out of his range for Romero. We've seen that already, so they've got to go for it. No backs behind Rourke.
4 wideout formation, and the officials stopped the play. Yale is going to call for a timeout.
Dartmouth came up with a formation that they weren't prepared for, and a good timeout call as we watch again the construction yesterday of the big bonfire for Dartmouth night last night, part of the annual festivities during homecoming. More Dartmouth grads and more examples of that baseball influence here. That guy's been pretty successful, I would say. Well, Donald Hall, Hallmark Cards. We've been blessed, partner, with some pretty good weather for this Ivy League season.
A little rain here last night in Hanover, but no problems at all today. Mike Madden's happy. I had the sideline reporter's job on these games for 2 years, and it rained just about every week. Mike hasn't had to break out the rain gear yet on the sideline. He's also got a chance to visit with some pretty cheerleaders along the way. Big play here, 4th down and 8. Dartmouth at the Yale 26. Trailing by 10 with 12:43 to go. Rourke running out of time. Just lobs it into the air. Nobody out there for Dartmouth, and Yale takes over on downs. 1st and 10 at the 26-yard line.
Steve Essick on a blitz from his monster back spot, and Tony Campolino were the guys putting the pressure on Chris Rourke. And that Yale defense, which has given up a lot of yardage on the season and has given up a lot of yards between the 20s this afternoon, has been tough here in the second half when Dartmouth has threatened in scoring territory.
The lack of a quality kicking game hurts as well. Dartmouth could have kicked 3 in that situation, been within a touchdown. Stewart up the middle on 1st down for about 7. He's down at the 33-yard line. Mike Stewart nearing 100 yards on the day. He's been there 3 times this year already, and he's had 2 95-yard games.
You know, I think it's no secret, Sean, that for most of the contenders in the Ivy League this year, they've been blessed with a good quarterback. Maybe the one exception being Cornell, and they've got the dominant defense. But Yale and Columbia, or Yale and Princeton, excuse me, and Harvard have all had strong quarterbacks. The teams that don't are the teams that are struggling, like Columbia and Dartmouth. And even Penn, for that matter. I mean, they've not been able to find somebody to take Krochickia's spot after he had done such a great job for the Quakers the past couple of years.
Stewart gained 1 on 2nd down, and it's 3rd and 2 upcoming for Yale. Clock continues to tick down. 11:35 to play, 4th quarter. Yale leads 17-7.
Stewart just 5 yards shy of a 100-yard day.
He gets the call again. And he is hit very close to a 1st down. It will depend on where they spot it. Needed to get to the 36-yard line, and he is very close to it.
It's the old right foot, left foot spot there. They gave him the right foot spot. Charlie Clough asked Buddy Stevens, "What do you think, Coach? Do you want a measurement?" And Buddy said, "You bet I do."
Oh, this is measurement material. If they have it just barely, and if they're short, they're just barely short. They have it. Charlie Clough saying good eyes to Buddy Stevens. When he asked Buddy that question, Buddy must have told him, "I think they have it." Buddy was hoping he gave Charlie the wrong answer. You have to have a pretty good eye when you're the kind of quarterback Buddy Stevens was. He was also an outstanding hockey player here at Dartmouth, a 2-time letter winner in hockey, and a part of their team that finished 3rd in the NCAA championships in 1978. Stewart into the secondary and in Dartmouth territory, dragged down at the 43-yard line by Rob Comby.
That puts him well over 100 yards.
That was a 21-yard gain for Mike Stewart.
They run those delays, the counters, as well as anybody. They ran Jenkins, the fullback, to the right, pulled Coleman and Rudolph to the left side. They made the trap blocks, and Stewart had a gaping hole.
He's up to 118 yards for the day, and now ahead of his 1,000-yard pace for the season. Stewart again to the 40. Ball squirted free after the whistle, and after a gain of 3 yards for Mike Stewart.
That'll be an interesting matchup next Saturday in the game between Cornell and Yale when we watch those Cornell linebackers and down linemen deal with this offensive front of Yale, which has really come on. You know, they knew Coleman was going to be a good blocker for them. They weren't really sure how the rest of that offensive front was going to develop, and they've gotten better every week.
2nd and 7 from the Dartmouth 40. Less than 10 minutes to play now, and Yale leads by 10. Ryan's pass incomplete. Athanasiou couldn't hang on as he caught that ball in traffic. Third and 7 upcoming from the 40. Dartmouth crowd trying to spur on the defense to hang in there and give the offense a chance to get back in the football game.
Kelly Ryan, 13 of 19, very effective. And intercepted only 5 times all year.
Ryan dumps it off, complete. Bob Shoup has a 1st down inside the 30. He'll mark his forward progress at about the 27-yard line.
I owe an apology to Kelly Ryan and his family. Anybody else may be watching. Yale has thrown 5 interceptions this year, but Kelly's only thrown 3 of those 5.
He's only thrown 1 interception in the last 5 games after throwing 2 in the opening loss against Brown.
Toss for 12 touchdowns. That's a great ratio when you only have the 3 interceptions and 12 touchdowns. That means you're an effective quarterback, and when you make throws like that, it's a little question why.
Bob Shoup on the receiving end. He doubles as a pitcher on the Yale baseball team. Zuba in motion. The toss to Stewart. Trying to get outside to the left, and he does. Andy Russell tripped him up after a gain of about 6. Down to the 22.
Mike Stewart was out of school last year, did not play football. Kevin Bryce was an outstanding tailback for the Bulldogs, but Stewart came back this year and quite obviously has been the tailback that Yale wanted, because he gives you a little more speed than Bryce does. Bryce more of a power runner. Stewart with the ability to get to the corner, as he did on that previous play, and he's really done a job for Yale this year.
For those of you wondering, her son is Jason Lichtenstein, the field goal kicker for Dartmouth. Stewart got to about the 21-yard line, 2.5 yards shy of a first down. Clock really the ally of the Yale Bulldogs now. 8:20 remaining, clock running. Fourth quarter, Yale 17, Dartmouth 7. The Big Green offense has sputtered since scoring on the first series of the game. Third and 3. Stewart in behind the line of scrimmage and dropped by Paul Michael, number 39, the junior from Tampa, Florida, an economics major at Dartmouth.
There's some people you can see on this Dartmouth defense that are going to make things a lot easier in 1988 for Buddy Tevens and his staff, Paul Michael being one of them. I've been impressed with that young man, the junior linebacker. Just not enough people like Michael yet in that defensive unit. But as Sean McDonough has pointed out before, you know Buddy's going to turn it around.
Fourth down and 7. Yale going for it with the 10-point lead and 7:20 to play. Flag down. Open is Zuba. He hangs on. Took a hit from Andy Russell. Has the first down if the play stands at the 7-yard line. Let's see what the call is back at the line of scrimmage. Jack Corrigan indicating it's going against Yale. And it is.
Illegal motion. What happens sometimes when you have all the jumping and flopping around, that you get a guy, you cannot start in regular in motion, you cannot start in normal motion until everybody else in the motion has set, and that's what happened to Yale on that time.
Illegal motion, offense, 5-yard penalty, still fourth down.
That sets up a 4th down and 12 as you see our vantage point high atop Memorial Field. And our pal Peter Stendel working the camera in the booth and trying to stay warm with us. From the 30. Ryan with all kinds of time throws incomplete. The pass was behind Mike Stewart. He tried to put the brakes on and come back to it. Couldn't do it. Dartmouth gets the ball at the 30-yard line.
Interesting play here. Stewart out in the trips formation. He is lagging behind Athanasiou, who is going to be trying to clear out the linebackers underneath. And on a rare occasion, Kelly Ryan not with the best of efforts. Usually he is right on the money with his passes. Can't connect there, and so the Dartmouth defense holds, but the offense is running out of time.
6:55 left, and Dartmouth trails by 10, 17-7. Rourke has to put it up. Does. Too high, intended for David Anderson. Essick on the coverage for Yale.
Last year, Dartmouth was blessed with an excellent quarterback, Dave Gavinelli. And this year, it's been a learning experience. You see Princeton making it a tough season for the Penn Quakers. Columbia's hung in there against Lehigh, and Harvard looks like they're going to come up with another victory.
Rourke back to throw, under pressure. Dumps it off, and Phyllis dropped the football. It's incomplete. He was hit immediately by Don Lund, number 40, the junior linebacker from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 3rd and 10 upcoming.
This was a really slow developing screen pass. Part of the reason is that Yale spotted it and just sat there waiting for it, and Rourke finally threw it. And Phyllis did a good job of, if he didn't lose the ball on the pop from Don Lund, he also realized he was going to lose yardage, so he didn't make the catch. Lund with the good hit, and Steve Essick with the good hit on Rourke as he was trying to throw that screen.
Rourke was 6 for 7 in the first half. He's 3 for 12 passing here in the second half. Has to throw on 3rd and 10. Toward the sideline, nearly intercepted, a flag down on the play. Craig Morton was the intended receiver, and Chuck Bray nearly picked it off. Number 82.
Morton was the happy guy over there saying it was against Yale. Charlie Close says he was right. We're going to isolate on Craig Morton against double coverage. Chuck Bray, the linebacker.
Hit him.
No, that's once too many, Chuck. You're allowed to contact within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but once you've made that contact,
defense, first down.
Got to lay off him, and Chuck was just a little bit too aggressive. See if Dartmouth can take advantage of a break.
From the 40, 1st and 10, 6:37 remaining. Fourth quarter, Yale 17, Dartmouth 7. Rourke with time, has it batted down. Trying to go over the middle, but Ned Dooley, the nose guard, number 39, the junior from Chicago, Illinois, knocked it down.
Last week against Cornell, Dartmouth on several occasions threw the home run ball to Craig Morton. They were able to complete one on a little bit of a razzle-dazzle play for a long touchdown. They have not tried to throw the ball deep at all here this afternoon.
No.
I'm a little surprised by that.
I am as well. Buddy Tevens said perhaps some tricks in his bag, but he hasn't pulled them out yet. 2nd and 10. Rourke out of the shotgun, picks up the low snap. Lots of time. Going deep this time. Morton has it for a first down at the Yale 41. Richard Huff made the tackle.
Yale has spent most of the afternoon with a linebacker up on the line of scrimmage bothering Morton, and then a deep safety man. Craig was able to get off the ball and hook up underneath the deep coverage. You see he gets by Bray here without any contact. That's why he's able to make this catch before Huff knocked him down.
3 catches on the day for Craig Morton. Those numbers piled up by Craig last year when he caught 44 passes. Flag comes down.
Excuse me, John, they ran out the huddle clock.
That's hard to believe with time running down in the game, and they're trailing by 10 rather, but they took too much time in the huddle, and that'll walk them back 5 yards.
You heard Buddy Tevens say at halftime, mental mistakes have hurt us.
That was another one. Chris Rourke played for his father in the Brooks School before coming to Dartmouth. Father Dan, the coach of the Brooks School in Massachusetts. Under pressure, throws, nearly intercepted and nearly caught. John Reese on the coverage of Craig Morton, who was slicing over the middle.
It appeared like Morton didn't even see that ball coming, just stuck out one hand. Capolino putting good pressure on from Rourke's left. He's the leading sacker for the Bulldogs, and he was the guy breathing down Rourke's neck on that play.
5:33 to play, fourth quarter. Rourke throws behind David Anderson. He was the intended receiver at the 34-yard line. 3rd down and 15 upcoming for Dartmouth from the Yale 46.
I've got to believe they got to again go into some kind of multiple pattern. I've not seen a lot of that this afternoon, where they could take advantage of Morton's ability, you know, either make him the guy to stretch the defense and catch Anderson underneath, or let Anderson clear and let Morton run underneath and get into some open space if he can.
Morton and Anderson out to the left. Rourke's looking in that direction. Goes over the middle for Anderson. He makes the catch at the 20. First down after the gain of 26 yards. Rourke to David Anderson.
This time, Yale decides to double cover Morton and leave Anderson on a linebacker. And you see, he just ran by Essick. Essick is really the safety man or the strong safety, but he plays much like a linebacker as part of the underneath coverage. Anderson just ran right by him.
4 catches on the day for Anderson. Dartmouth drive alive at the 21 of Yale. 5 minutes to play. Yale leads by 10. Rourke throws incomplete. Intended again for David Anderson. Would not have been much of a gain were he able to catch it. Would have been a gain of about 3 yards.
This is the 3rd time here in the second half that Dartmouth has been inside the Yale 30. The first 2 times, a missed field goal. Then they turned it over on downs the second time. With 4:54 to play, they're not going to get many more chances inside the Yale 30.
Second and 10. Rourke under pressure from Capolino, throws too high. Morton was open as he came back toward the line of scrimmage. He managed to elude Bob Stokes, but the pass a little bit too high with Rourke being under pressure.
It seems that when Chris Rourke is in trouble and throwing on the run, he doesn't finish his throw. He tends to release it too soon and gets that ball sailing on him. He's got to learn to get that body through the ball as he's releasing it.
Third and 10 from the 21, and Rourke drops back into the shotgun. Yale showing blitz. It's picked up. Rourke over the middle, too high from Morton. Those are the kind of passes that get your all-Ivy receiver in serious trouble.
Turned out that Dave Sullivan is the guy who took the worst of this contact. Sullivan, Morton, and Huff all collide, and Sullivan is the guy who is down for the 10 count. Those are known sarcastically as buddy passes, because you go up in the air for the ball, you get crunched, and you come back to the huddle and you go, thanks, buddy.
Chris Rourke, all the film that we watched on him as we prepared for the game, this was his problem. When he misses high.
Looks like he took a good shot right in the midsection.
Well, it's 4th down and 10 when play resumes for Dartmouth at the Yale 21. 4:45 to play. Yale leading by 10. What would our play call be as we look at more graduates?
One of our sponsors, Payne Weber, John Lamp, or Lampy. I'm not sure how John pronounces that, but
we better find out since
yes.
He's helping to pay the bills.
And there's another one, John Lampy. I was right with my second guest, Joseph Campana. The Chrysler Corporation, another one of our underwriters, and we thank them again for our support. Sullivan is up and moving off the field. 4th down play. Let's get back to what you talked about, Sean. I again think you have to put Anderson and Morton into a twin setup to one side or the other and take advantage, I think, of the double coverage on Morton and run some kind of out or slant in pattern to Anderson. But they're going to put him on opposite sides. And Yale's into a basic zone defense.
They're coming on a blitz. It's picked up well. Rourke with all day to throw. Going to the end zone. Morton is open. Incomplete. They say he did not come up with it in the field of play, and he can't believe it, nor can Terry Phillis. They argue the call. Incomplete the call, and the ball goes over to Yale on downs. Morton was wide open in the end zone.
Chris Rourke just waited too long to throw this ball. You judge for yourself. You can see how open Morton is. He's trying to stay in bounds, but good call by the official because his left foot is on the line. He certainly catches the ball, but in that first angle, his left foot was on the line. If we get one more look at that, if it is possible, but there was no doubt on the call. But let's go back and get to the action, and perhaps we'll get back to that. Here's one more look at it. Watch his left foot. Right there, it's on the line, and the official spots it. And no doubt he caught the ball, but the foot was on the line, and the line is out of bounds. Tough break for Dartmouth. Chris Rourke just waited too long to throw that football.
Morton was standing all alone for an eternity. On 1st down, Stewart got the call for Yale, and he gained 2 out to the 23. Dartmouth with all 3 timeouts remaining, trailing by 10. Their defense has played pretty well today, Jack.
That's been an improvement, but they're not making the scoring chances when they're presented to them. Once more. His
It's
left
one
foot
foot
right
in
there.
college football, but it's got to be the first foot.
That's
you can't
right.
be standing out of bounds and then put your other foot in bounds.
And the official was in perfect position on that side. There was no doubt that he was right there to see it.
Clock ticking down, 3:35 remaining. It's running. 3rd down and 5. Dartmouth really has to stop Yale on this play. Ryan to the air. Complete to Athanasia for the first down out of the 39-yard line. Big play there for the Bulldogs as they keep the ball and keep the clock moving. It stopped for the time being while they move the chains with 3:17 to play. Yale 17, Dartmouth 7.
When they need about 5 or 6 yards into a passing situation, they invariably look to their big tight end, Athanasia, and more often than not, Dean has been right there to answer the call. We'll get a look at Dean again next week when Yale hosts Cornell in a big ball game. Both teams will come in at 3-1 if Yale hangs on to the lead here.
Stewart up the middle and ahead for 2 to the 41-yard line. That'll put Mike Stewart at 130 yards for the game on 31 carries. He's also scored a touchdown.
After allowing an awful lot of points earlier in the season, the Dartmouth defense allows Cornell just 21 points last week, 17 in this ball game to Yale. Unfortunately, the offense continues to sputter in terms of putting points on the board.
And not for the lack of opportunity, as we saw again just moments ago. Stewart down to the 46, nearly lost the football. It scored it free, and he fell on top of it, and Dartmouth elects to use its first time out here in the second half. They stop the clock with 2:07 to play, and Yale leading 17-7. The Bulldogs with 3rd down and 3 at the 46.
We've seen a new group of running backs in the Ivy League this year. Of course, Judd Garrett, the sophomore running back for Princeton, who's done such a good job. Mike Stewart here with Yale, the junior, who has played very, very well. And sort of the next group, that's one of the refreshing things about college sports, the turnover and good people. Let's go down to the sidelines and Mike Madden.
Yeah, I got an injury report on Dave Sullivan. Dave took a helmet to the thigh, and it's just a Charlie horse. He probably won't be back. It's the end of the game. He'll probably be ready to go again next week.
Looks to be in fine spirits as his team is heading toward its 4th straight victory. Should Yale hang on and win this football game, they'd be 5-2 overall, 3-1 in Ivy League play. That one loss would tie them for first place in the loss column. The winner of the Harvard-Brown game today will be 4-1 in the league, and technically with a half-game lead. Dartmouth on its way to 1-6 overall, 0-4 in the Ivy League.
Big play, big play, big play. Come on, defense.
The Dartmouth defense must stop this play. 3rd down and 3. Ryan throws. Athanasia again wide open. First down Yale at the Dartmouth 40-yard line. I would think that would just about put the game away, Jack.
That's just a great conception, just a great use of a play that they go to time and time again. I just love the concept. Kelly Ryan breaks the containment. Now the linebackers don't know what to do. Do I come up and keep them from running, or do I hang back? Their indecision allows Athanasia from the backside just to find a hole, and Ryan drills it, and they get the first down time and again.
You saw Buddy Stevens talking with assistant coach Paul Ferraro. It looked as though they were saying, we knew they were going to do that, but we just can't stop it. Stewart gets nowhere. He was driven back, and Dartmouth takes the timeout. With 1:29 to play, Ish McLaughlin made the tackle. He was the freshman class president at Dartmouth, as a member of the Committee on Standards. Now a senior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Missed all of his sophomore year with a knee infection. Buddy Stevens is glad to have him back.
Dartmouth has 1 timeout remaining. On the day now, Yale with 359 yards of total offense. And again, the balance, 189 yards passing, 170 yards rushing. They are easily the most balanced ball club in the Ivy League this year.
And Carm Koza's team a contender for the crown. Big ball game that we'll have next week here on PBS. Cornell at Yale, 1 o'clock Eastern time. on these stations.
I remember visiting with John Rosenberg early in the season when we were doing the Brown-Princeton game, the Friday before that game. John and I were talking about the Ivy League race, and he said, you watch Yale. He said, I saw enough of them in that first ball game to tell you they're going to be a factor in this race. They certainly have become that.
I think the true test for the Bulldogs, obviously, with the next 3 weeks, Cornell, Princeton, and Harvard in succession. On 2nd and 11, Stewart got the 1 yard he lost back. McLaughlin hit him again. Help from Jay Sweat and Brett Matthews as well. And Dartmouth is going to use its final timeout with 1:18 to play. Yale leads 17-7. And the Bulldogs faced with 3rd and 10 at the Dartmouth 40.
If I was Seb Laspina here, Sean,
you might be warmer because you'd be in the sunshine.
But I would also run a running play here, take advantage of the clock continuing. 4th down, take a delay of game penalty, run the clock down further, then punt the ball and have Dartmouth be in a situation where there'd be less than a minute to play. They'd have nearly the length of the field to march and score twice. That's just not going to happen.
No.
Well, yeah. So much for conservatism. Yeah, Kelly Ryan says, let's throw the ball.
Come on, right here, let's go. Come on, let's go. Let's go, Kelly. Give me too tight. Too tight.
Two tight ends seems to make it a little more likely that they're going to run this football. I don't think they realized that at first that Dartmouth was out of timeouts when they were talking about passing the ball and trying to get the first down. They bring in Chris Plunkett, number 87, as the 2nd tight end.
On 3rd and 10. Toss to Stewart. Stopped after a gain of 3 to the 37. Dartmouth could not stop the clock. 4th and 7 upcoming for Yale. They started with 1:02 to play.
They're just going to sit in the huddle.
Two seconds left on the clock, and they snap it. Ryan will throw, and he throws incomplete. Mike Stewart had end zone on his mind as he was open. He had green pasture ahead of him. He can't believe he dropped that. Dartmouth takes over on downs. 1st and 10, 33 seconds to go. Trailing by 10. They're at their own 37.
You are right, Mike. The ball was a little low. I mean, it was below the waist, but still certainly catchable, and Mike Stewart had a chance to score.
Bet on a pass on this play. Chris Rourke over the middle, complete to David Anderson. Clock will stop while they move the chains. It's a 1st down at the Yale 48-yard line after a gain of 15. 5 catches for Anderson on the day, and Kelly Ryan another fine day directing the Yale offense. 24 seconds to play. They haven't set the chains yet. Dartmouth scored on its first drive of the football game in the first quarter to take a 7-0 lead. They have not scored since. Rourke, incomplete. Won't even say that was intended for Vince Malaccio, because that was clearly intended for the sideline to stop the clock.
Vince at about 5'9" would have needed a stepladder to even come close to that one.
If you have any chance to win the football game, and that's what you're still thinking about if you're Dartmouth, you have to throw this to the end zone, because you still have to onside kick, get the football back, and score again. Rourke looking to the end zone, throwing for Malaccio, and it's incomplete. Ball was underthrown.
Rich Huff nearly with the interception.
would have been his first of the year. Malaccio just 139 pounds and 5'7", a senior from New City, New York.
I gave him 2 inches. I called him 5'9". He probably appreciated that.
I'm sure he did. Chris Rourke, you saw the numbers, 12 for 30 passing. That's after he was 6 for 7 in the first half. Just 6 for 23 here in the second half. 12 seconds to play. Dartmouth trails by 10. Rourke toward the sideline, nobody home. Anderson was heading up the field. Steve Essick was the closest man to it, number 9 for Yale. 6 seconds to play. Carm Koza on his way to career coaching victory, number 137. He hopes he's also on his way toward his 10th Ivy League championship.
Where does he stack up in the...
14th winningest active coach in college football right now among all divisions. Has a couple of guys named Osborne and Switzer just ahead of him. Rourke on the last play of the football game. Threw it to center field. Absolutely nobody there in green. It is intercepted. Chris Rutan, number 44, with the interception. He runs out of bounds after his first pickoff of the year in Yale. And Carm Koza trot off after a 17-7 victory over the Big Green of Dartmouth. These are the best of times for Carm Koza, and better times certainly lie ahead for Buddy Tevens and the Big Green of Dartmouth. Once again, the final score, Yale 17 and Dartmouth 7. We'll return to Memorial Field in just a moment. The Ivy League football game of the week is made possible by a grant from Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. And by a grant from the financial professionals at Payne Weber. Yale now 5-2 overall. They've won 4 in a row. They are 3-1 in the Ivy League, and for all intents and purposes in a tie for first place. Dartmouth, after the loss, now 1-6 overall, 0-4 in Ivy League play. And we check out the important scores from around the league. That one, the most important that you just saw, Harvard still ahead of Brown, 14-9.
We have set up for ourselves a very interesting ball game next week, Sean, with Yale and Cornell, as they will both be 3-1 in Ivy play coming into that game. And the loser really is going to be out of it if he can't come up with a victory. So that'll be an important one next Saturday.
We remind you once again, our game next week as Boston College pulls off the upset over Tennessee. Cornell at Yale, 1 o'clock Eastern time on these public television stations. Those two teams will each be in a tie for first place, along with the winner of today's Harvard-Brown game. Right now, it's Harvard on top by 5 points. Once again, the final score today here at Memorial Field in Hanover, New Hampshire. Yale 17 and Dartmouth 7. For Mike Madden and Jack Corrigan, I'm Sean McDonough. Thanks for watching. So long, everyone. The executive producer of the Ivy League football game of the week is Barry Frank. Produced by Chris Carmody. Directed by Bob Lanning. Technical director Tom Clark. This has been a presentation of Trans World International and the Ivy League Network.
That wraps up Ivy League football for today here on 13. Now, we join a special program, A League of Their Own, already in progress.
It was kind of difficult walking in high heels with an upsweep, carrying a book on top of your head, and with a Charlie horse saying, bounce the ball.
Oh, when they made me over, I looked like Buster Brown. I had bangs here, and being that my lips are small, I had lipstick clear up in here, and, you know, I just felt like I was in a plaster Paris cast after they got through.
When we first saw the uniforms, we almost packed up, went back to California, because it was like a tunic. The thing about the uniforms were they were very colorful, they were very good looking, and I realize now how much they added to the game. Right there, you got a lot of people that like to see the legs and laugh, but they didn't expect to see you play good baseball. We got them out there, maybe because of our uniforms, maybe because of the publicity. We kept them there because we played damn good baseball.
The uniform did look like a tennis dress, but I did modifications on mine. I wanted mine shorter. Then you'd take tucks in them, because if you didn't, I mean, your buns would stick out like bowling balls.
The ability to master such fine points as the hook slide pays off not only in the ultimate score, but in the pay envelope.
Getting the dirt in the skirt, that's rough.
Well, I mean, you left a lot of skin on the ground. I mean, that's what a strawberry is. You just rip up your hip part.
I guess my forte was stealing bases. That was mainly it. My best year was in 1946. That year in particular, I stole 201 bases.
This, friends, is Havana, Cuba, and in the background yonder is famous Morro Castle. In the foreground are some Bonitas Senoritas Americanas, for they're kids from the USA who have figuratively taken Havana over in a feminine peacetime invasion. A whole army of girls in uniform. Watch. That's right, an army of baseball players. Not softball, but hardball. Stars of the All-American Girls Baseball League here for training.
It was a good place to train, and we had gone there to replace, I don't know if we were actually replaced, but we outdrew the Yankees. That the girls' ball teams outdrew the Yankees. The crowds were just fantastic.
Customarily, baseball skill is first acquired in childhood. And up to now, most little girls have concentrated on their knitting rather than their hitting. These high steppers were the exceptions.
It was wild, but we had to have tourist cops with us in Cuba because men were kind of, you know, they love blonde-haired people.
Okay, sister, haul your bludgeon to the platter and let's see how you make out against a twirler who's starting to put a bit of mid-season stuff on the old spheroid.
I was a pitcher, and I'm an only child with a father that was a baseball player, so consequently I became a baseball player.
Well, they got their money's worth when I played. They did, because I would do everything to please them.
I played hurt, I played long, I played whatever position they needed, and I gave them everything I had.
Baseball basics are the same no matter what league you're in.
I think this whole league should be in the Hall of Fame. I think that it was American National and there was the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
What the heck do we care? What the heck do we care? Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the heck do we care now?
How long have I been a fan? Since 1929. And it's one of the best sports there is. The women getting out and doing what they're doing.
Keep your head down, Johnny. The season started in April, and it would end in August, and then the playoffs would start in August.
We played, I think it varied, but on about 115 games or 120 games for a season. And that was in only a little over a 3-month period. We played almost every single night. We had maybe 15 on our roster. I mean, you played first base if they needed a first baseman. Sometimes you pitched if they needed a pitcher. And very often you pushed the bus. We had to do it all, and you played hurt. That's what it was all about. You played hurt because your ball club needed you.
You know, we're all young. You can do a lot of things when you're young. You can get on that bus and sing all night after a ball game and have a great time, sleep a few hours, get up, go eat, get dressed, go out and play the game. You could do this all the time. That's what we did.
When we got to Chicago and stayed at the Stevenson Hotel, well, I wanted to say at least one time, Faye Dancer had breakfast in bed. I had the whole bed with the stainless steel covers on the eggs and all of this kind of stuff, and I just felt like a queen for a day.
We were married in '46, and after a ball game, you went home. When you got up in the morning before you went to practice, you know, you had to make the beds and do the dishes and things like this. So it made it tough.
He knew I was a ball player, and he went to work. The lady took care of my son in the daytime. He took care of him at nighttime. When we came home, we were a family together.
Here we sit like birds in the wilderness, waiting for the game to start.
From 1945 through 1952, I was just one of the fans of the American Girls Baseball League. At that time, I became one of the owners, and I would say that probably 35% of the fans that came had season tickets around the league. It was a big season ticket thing. And so they were regulars out there almost every night. In those days, 2 1/4, 2 1/2 was about tops for boxes at that time. $1.50 into there for generals was a good going price.
Oh, gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be. Oh, gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, many long years ago.
When the moment comes to play ball, these frails are expected to play it with all the frills that fans have come to expect from conventional baseball at its best.
Play!
In the early part of our league, we used regulation spikes, Louisville sluggers, from 32 ounce to 36 ounce, baseball gloves, everything except the hard ball in the early parts, and we had a tailor-made ball.
And then as the years progressed, the pitching mound went back, the bases went back, the ball got smaller, and it became, truthfully, women's hardball.
This game was way, way ahead of its time. They began to make the old game look easy. And that was what we tried to avoid. We tried to make this look like it was something unusual, and it was way above average. And they had so mastered softball, and that's when the people did say, well, that girls are just playing softball. They could never do it with a hard ball or anything like that. And most of the girls, if you talk to them around here that survived through the last year, through '54, they liked it better when the hard ball came in. They made greater plays, and we had less errors with the hard ball, and the scores looked more respectable. They looked like baseball, see?
About the only thing missing from the game as the ladies play it is the argument with the umpire. But although minor battles, squawks, and general brawls with the men in blue are never part of the picture, this lack of so-called entertainment is more than compensated for by general hustle on the field and heads-up style of attack and defense.
I really protest. I can't do that, don't you? Yeah, I do. I see what
That was August the 20th. I even remember the date. 1945. There's a special reason why I remember that date. We were playing Rockford, and I pitched the first game and won it. And I really don't know why it came about, but the manager, Bill Wamgate, said, why don't you go another one? I said, okay, I'll go another one. And and the reason why it's special is because that's the day I met my husband.
From the time that I first picked up a bat, I could hit the ball well, I could run well, I could... as a matter of fact, I used the biggest bat in the league, which was a size 36. I got that from a fellow at Notre Dame, South Bend. And I guess it was just good wrist action. I don't know. I could get that bat around and swing it and hit it very well. I have 5 sons, and Casey, he's the youngest, and he plays for Montreal Expos.
I really tried to motivate him to always be aggressive.
I didn't get married till I was 33 years old. I paid the price there. We had boyfriend in every port, so to speak. In fact, a couple of them, there were a couple of them. And one time we got caught. We're in Grand Rapids, came back home, and it was my birthday, so we had dates with our two guys from Fort Wayne. Well, it was gas rationing, right? So we weren't worried. We look around, there's the four guys together in the grandstands. Now, in those days, that wasn't done. What we did, we handled it like big leaguers. We hid under the grandstand.
I'm still superstitious even to this day, but the only time I ever got benched in my life is when Bill Wamby, who incidentally, his real name is Bill Wambagash. He made the only unassisted triple play in the 1921 World Series. And I always had this seance with some of the fans, because, see, I always involved the fans. And then we would do this little seance thing up there about base hits, and we'd be all holding hands, you know, touching skin to skin. And so Bill Wamby, he took a look up there and he said, "You aren't playing tonight." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "You're overly superstitious." And I said, "Well, good gosh," I said, "that won't affect my baseball." I said, "I get base hits doing that." And he says, "No, you don't." He said, "You're sitting this one out." So I sat it out.
Yes, they make hits wherever they go. Diamond gals, adding something unique to our national pastime.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give these young ladies a big round of applause.
I think it was a sad day for everybody.
We were losing ball players, and we had no way to regroup. And the girls that were in the league were beginning to retire, so they had nobody to replace them. And the other reason is people had too much to do. Television came into being. People had money in their pocket, and so it faded away.
I grew up hearing stories about Faye Dancer, Pepper. They were all wonderful legends to me. And people ask me, why do you care about something that folded 30 years ago? And I tell you, if they could spend the days with you that I have spent with you, no one would ever ask me that question again. You are all pioneers, and each and every one of you is a star and a legend in your own right. And I love you all. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You know, we're going to take a trip your way.
It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I was doing something I loved. I was with people that were great people. We wanted us to be a success as a league, not just an individual, not just a team, all of us. It's the second dearest memory in my heart, and the first one would be my son, my daughter, my grandson. AAGPBL ranks right up there, awful close to it, close enough to be warm.
Professional baseball to me was something that I did as I was younger. To me, it was something that I loved to do. I guess I'm not too nostalgic because I never really talked about it too much. I enjoyed what I was doing, and then I went on to raise my sons.
I saw you out first.
That's a long way to go back to describe your feelings today as to how you felt in those days. It really is. I mean, you were excited. And as Helen said, it was something that you're proud of doing. And you did it because you liked it, and it's good money. It was better being closed in a building working all day.
How about you? We played hell, we had a lot of fun.
Just ride along with us. Okay, so have a good trip back. I'm not sure that it could happen again because the young people nowadays have too much to do. And they won't dedicate themselves like we did. We didn't have anything to do. We didn't have swimming pools and country clubs, and we had no money in our pocket. So this was all we had to do.
I was looking forward to seeing her again because they said she was coming. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I wouldn't do it over again because once you have done something and got everything out of it that you can get out of it, leave it go. Because you're just making yourself a bore after that. You're boring to them as well as yourself. So I got everything that I wanted out of baseball. I got it. And then some.
Smile. We're the members of the All-American League. We come from cities near and far. We got Canadians, Irishmen, and Swedes. We're all for one. We're one for all. We're all Americans.
I want to know where it says Men's Baseball Hall of Fame. And I think there is a place for our league as a league.
Chaperones are not too soft, they're not too tough. Our managers are on the ball. We got a president who really knows his stuff. We're all for one, we're one for all, we're all American.
Presentation of A League of Their Own was made possible in part by a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
There's something in this house. It's clammy and rotten. Whatever it is, it's in here with us.
I was working in the lab late one.
Be afraid. Be afraid for heaven's sake.
Began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
It's back. 13's Halloween weekend, and everybody's just dying to see it.
Martin, his name was.
Martin.
Mr. Avalon Martin.
Martin. I knew it began with an M.
This week on Mystery, Answers and Questions.
But if the blood was still liquid, Alexis could only have been dead a few minutes, 10 at the outside. Hello. What have we here?
Dorothy Sayers have his carcass on Mystery.
Free will or foul play tonight at 9. House hunting becomes house haunting when a young couple stumbles on a charming retreat with a ghostly stay-at-home. Ray Milland stars in The Uninvited tonight at 11:25.
No, this is not a new dinosaur movie. It's just a typical day at the seashore. Only this shore lies 600 miles out in the Pacific Ocean, where local inhabitants enjoy themselves in a variety of ways. For the sports-minded, there's water walking, body surfing, if you can get the hang of it, or sand surfing for those not yet ready for the water. For the culturally minded, an underwater ballet is already underway for a sellout crowd. With the snack bar closed, you have to catch your own lunch or do the best you can. And there's plenty of time for romance and family fun, even if you're not in the same family or species. If you're just learning to swim, the beginner's pool is just right, with a little help from Mom. And of course, there's always bird watching. After all, this is nature, and these are the Galapagos, where it's always cold on the equator.
Creatures of Frigid Determination tomorrow at 8.